Hello, this is your host, Adam Graham, from Pretty Much the Present. And in this video, we'll be bringing you a compilation of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2010. The podcasts are appearing, for the most part, unedited, except for some extraneous or repetitive elements that are being removed because this is a compilation. As I said, these are old, so any websites or offers mentioned may not be valid at the time you're listening unless you find them on our website currently. Now, with that said, here is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio from Boise, Idaho. This is your host, Adam Graham. Got a comment? Email me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net. And become a fan of the show on Facebook, facebook.greatdetectives.net. We begin with a comment from Dan Dagan, who writes, "It was funny to hear my last name used in the show. Dagan is a very odd last name, and that's in reference to the show 113.5, which we did about 5 weeks ago. And it's interesting. I think a lot of writers take kind of a stock approach to names that they give their characters. I know with Dragnet, I tended to hear a lot of the same last names being given to characters. And that may be one of the big challenges when you're writing new characters every week, is you've got to come up with first and last names for them all. So definitely a challenge, and keep listening, and then you may hear your last name as well. All right, well, before we do get started, I want to remind you, if you have not already, check out Audible. Audible is a great service that gives you the flexibility of being able to get one audiobook per month of your choice. So you can listen to a fantastic old-time radio set, or you can play the latest bestseller to help you grow your business, or you can sit back and relax, listen to a classic, or listen to a more recent book that's of interest to you, such as the Monk novels brought to audiobooks. Just go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. That's audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Now let's get into today's episode, Find Me, Find Death.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Hello, Susie. Come for Box 13 mail?
Uh-huh. Is there any, Connie?
Sure, a lot of it. But here's one that's different.
Different? How?
Well, look at the paper. And it didn't come by mail. It was just put on the counter here.
That's funny. I wonder why.
Yeah, it was funny, all right. That was the letter that said, Box 13. I've been watching your ad appear in the Star Times day after day. You want adventure? Very well, I think I can offer that. I'm going to find out who you are. And when I do, I'm going to kill you within 4 days. That gives you 4 days to find out who I am. If you learn that, you may stop me from killing you. But if you don't, at least you will have 4 days of different adventure. Now back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, Find Me, Find Death.
If you learn that, at least you will have had 4 days of different adventure. Oh, gee, maybe you'd better go to Lieutenant Kling, Mr. Holliday.
Why, Susie?
Well, you don't want to be killed, do you?
I'll try my best to avoid that ugly possibility.
You think it's just a gag, don't you?
Well, it could be. And then again... Oh, Susie.
What, Mr. Holliday?
Know why this letter was delivered to the Star-Times by hand rather than through the regular mail?
No.
So whoever wrote it could see who picked up the mail there.
And find out who you are.
And you. You worried?
I am now. Gee, it could be a psychic killer who wrote it.
Psychopathic, Susie. Anyway, I don't think we should take it too seriously. Yeah, that's what I said. Don't take it too seriously. I didn't, at first. I'd almost forgotten about the letter until that night when I went home. I walked into my apartment building and was passing the desk when the clerk called out to me.
Mr. Holliday? Oh, Mr. Holliday.
Huh? Oh, hello there. How are you?
Fine. Say, you certainly were deep in thought when you came in.
Yes, I guess I was.
Here's a letter for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Is anything wrong, Mr. Holliday?
I don't know. Who gave you this?
No one.
No one. What do you mean?
Well, it was on the floor just inside the lobby door. I thought maybe you dropped it.
No, I didn't. You didn't see anyone who might have thrown it on the floor?
I'm sorry, I didn't, Mr. Holliday. I've been at the switchboard all evening, and I can't see the entrance from there.
Oh, I see.
Is anything wrong? I mean, bad news, anything like that?
Now, here, read this.
I'm ready, Mr. Holliday. Are you? That's a funny kind of note.
Mm-hmm. Very funny. Has there been anyone here asking for me?
Not a soul. At least not since I've been on duty. Since 7 this evening.
Any calls?
None.
You sure no one came in?
Well, not that I saw. You look worried, Mr. Holliday.
Huh? Do I? Okay, forget it. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Holliday. If there are any calls, do you want them?
Yes, ring me in my apartment.
Sure will, sir. Good night.
Good night. Maybe it was a joke. A little gruesome, but nevertheless a joke. I went up to my apartment. I don't know why I did it, but I tried the door softly and carefully before I put the key in and unlocked it. I stood there for a moment in the dark. Then I switched on the lights. I told myself I was being a little silly, that this was a joke. I walked to the window and opened it. I stood there, looking out and down the street below. The pavement in front of the apartment building was empty. No one there. Then I went to the phone, and I made a dozen calls and got a great reputation among my friends for being, well, a little off the rails. But no one admitted the joke. Maybe, just maybe, because it wasn't a joke.
Good morning, Mr. Holliday. Gee, you look as though you haven't slept. You look tired.
Oh, I slept, but badly.
Oh, did you have couldn't you sleep?
Where's the mail, Susie?
Oh, right here.
Oh, thank you.
What's the matter, Mr. Holliday?
Oh, nothing, Susie. I'm just getting a little angry, that's all.
At me?
Oh, no, Susie. Not at you.
What is it?
Same paper, same handwriting.
Huh? What is?
This letter. But this time it was sent through the mail.
Mr. Holliday, what's wrong?
Here, read it.
Oh, sure. Dear Mr. Holliday, now I know who you are. You must know it because you got my message last night. But what I didn't tell you in my last letter was that if you go to the police, you won't get 4 days. I'll kill you as soon as you make a move to contact them. Play the game fairly, Mr. Holliday, and you'll have 4 days. Good luck.
Let me have that letter, Susie.
What are you going to do?
Pay a visit.
To the police? Oh, but Mr. Holliday...
No, not to the police. I'm just going to satisfy myself about something.
Will you come in, Mr. Holliday?
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Please sit down.
Thanks.
Now, the nurse said that you seemed rather anxious about something. I don't usually see people without appointments.
I know, and I appreciate this. Oh, here are 3 letters, Doctor. I'd like you to read them and, well, as a psychiatrist, tell me what you think about them.
Letters? Let me see.
Can you read while I talk?
Certainly. Go right ahead.
Well, here's my advertisement in the Star-Times, the one mentioned in the first letter you're reading now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll explain about the letter later. But first, would any person be liable to write such letters as those?
No. No normal person, Mr. Holliday.
But an abnormal person might.
Have you thought of the possibility of a prank, a joke?
No, I have. No one admits it.
Well, no one would if it is a joke.
Doctor, what kind of a person would write letters like those? Leaving out the gag angle, I mean.
Mr. Holliday, if I tried to, well, go into motives thoroughly, you'd be here all day listening to me. However, there are people who, to all appearances, external appearances, seem perfectly normal. Yet those same persons, once the stimulus is applied, the motivation furnished, will do terrible things.
Even commit murder?
Yeah. Our records are full of such case histories.
Why?
Mr. Holliday, what little we know about such things tells us that these persons need, even actually crave, a bolster to their egos. Now, if the person who wrote these letters really kills you, as he says, then he'd feel superior to you and the rest of the world. Well, that's oversimplifying it, of course, but basically that's it.
Yeah, but why pick on me?
Well, look at your advertisement, Mr. Holliday. Box 13, adventure wanted. We'll go any place, do anything.
You mean that ad is a challenge to the person who wrote the letter?
Exactly. You supplied the stimulus, the motivation to this person.
In other words, barring a joke, I'm in trouble.
Why don't you go to the police?
You read the third letter. If I go to the police, I'll be killed before the 4 days are up.
I think you've got to take that chance.
Maybe. Look, Doctor, can this be kept confidential?
Well, if you want it that way, yeah.
For a while, anyway. Now, thanks very much. Oh, would you send your bill to my office?
Oh, no charge. On one condition.
Condition? What's that?
Come to see me after 4 days.
Doctor, I'll be very happy to see anyone after 4 days. That night, I tried to sleep. But I couldn't. I told myself 1,000,000 times that it was stupid and silly to let this get me. It was a joke. It had to be. But I heard Susie reading that letter.
Now I know who you are. I'll kill you.
Those same persons, once the stimulus is applied, the motivation furnished will do terrible things.
I'm going to find out who you are. And when I do, I'll kill you within 4 days.
Look at your advertisement, Mr. Holliday. That ad is a challenge to the person who wrote the letter.
Kill you within 4 days.
Do terrible things.
Don't go to the police.
Why don't you go to the police?
I jumped out of bed as though I'd been shot. I thought I had. But it was a car backfiring in the street below. Well, that made up my mind for me. I was going to the police. I got dressed and went downstairs.
Oh, going out, Mr. Holliday?
Yeah, for a little while.
Can't sleep?
It's a little tough.
Yes, sir. Pretty noisy outside. That car backfiring woke me up.
You were sleeping?
Well, just dozing, that's all.
You're supposed to stay awake. Anyone could get in or out.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Holliday. I just...
No, I'm sorry. I'm jumpy, I guess. Forget it. Oh, if there are any calls, I'll be back in an hour.
Yes, sir, Mr. Holliday. Good night, sir.
Good night. I walked out of my apartment building. There were a lot of people on the streets, coming home from shows, maybe going out for a bite to eat, or to the store for a package of cigarettes. I looked at their faces. They were the same kind of faces I saw every other day. Except now they were different in a subtle way. I wondered which one might be...
Hey, Bud.
What?
You got the time? I scared you, huh? You looked like you was 1,000,000 miles away.
Oh, I wish I were, mister. I wish I were. Oh, here you are.
Hey, I asked for the time, not a handout.
It's all right. You're welcome. Hey, cab. Take me to the nearest police station. Make it fast. Here you are. Keep the change. The street in front of the police station was empty. The taillight of the cab I just left receded in the distance and then disappeared. The headlights of a car coming down the street were yellow and misty. I started toward the stairs, but stopped to watch the car coming down the street. It slowed up a little, and then an envelope hit the pavement. I picked it up. The car from which it had been tossed disappeared down the street and around a corner. I tore open the envelope. The note was in the same handwriting. It was short, sweet. Mr. Holliday, if you try to go into that police station, a bullet will kill you before you can get inside. At
And now back to Find Me, Find Death. Another Box 13 adventure with Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
I didn't go into the station. Somehow, I believed that note. Then the next day at the office, Susie and I talked it over.
Please, you be careful, won't you, Mr. Holliday?
Careful? Yeah, sure. But how? Look, Susie knows where I live. He knows every move I make. But I haven't got the slightest clue as to who he or she is.
You've got to find out.
Yes, I know, but how? I'm no Superman, Susie. I've only got 2 more days.
Maybe if you left town, Mr. Holliday.
Oh, that wouldn't do any good. He'd be sure to follow. He'd be...
What's the matter? Did you think of something?
No, you did.
I did.
Yes, you. Susie, leave town. That's the answer.
But you just said he'd follow you.
If it's not a joke, he will. Now, wait. Let's think this out. By train? No. Too many people to check on the train. I'd never be able to narrow the choice down.
Go by bus, Mr. Holliday.
Bus, that's it, Susie. Bus. Not a big one, but one of those small lines that make only about a 300 or 400 mile run. How many people can get on one of those?
Maybe 20 or 30 at one time.
Sure, 20 or 30. And I've got an idea. Come on to the station with me, Susie.
Me? What for?
You'll see. Hand me that small bag.
Oh, you gonna pack?
No, the bag will be just a prop. Now, come on, let's go. Now, look, Susie. I'm going to buy a ticket on that bus, the one marked on the schedule leaving in 5 minutes. I'm going to buy a ticket all the way through to the end of the line.
Then what?
Then I'm going to get off that bus before the end of the line and come right back here.
Gee, it sounds all right, but I don't get it.
Don't you see, Susie? If he's following me, he'll buy a ticket all the way through. And he'll have to get off before the end of the line to keep track of me. Well, so long, Susie. I took a good look at my fellow passengers on the bus. It wasn't crowded. There were only 10 beside me. I wondered which of the 10, if any, was the person who was after me. Then...
Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
Would you do me a favor, please?
Oh, if I can, sure. What is it?
This is my little boy, Harold. All the seats next to the windows are taken. He likes to look out. I wondered if you'd mind if you just...
Oh, certainly not. Here you are, Sonny. Climb in.
Oh, thank you. Harold, be careful of your lollipop now. Don't get it all over the nice man.
Like to ride, Sonny? Hey, it's pretty out there, isn't it?
Kid don't talk much, does he?
Oh, no, not much.
Going all the way?
Yes, all the way. And you?
All the way. You want one of these books to read? Help pass the time?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's nothing. Here's a good murder mystery. You like murders?
Nothing like them.
Most of the murderers in them books are sure dumb. Now, if I was going to kill somebody, nobody would even know I was going to do it. I bet I could kill somebody and get away with it. That is, if I wanted to kill somebody.
And do you?
Sometimes I do, mister. Sometimes I do. Well, I'll let you to your reading.
Harold, you can come with me now. Oh, thanks for your kindness, mister. There's a seat next to the window up front now. Harold, where's your lollipop?
Oh, here you are. This is it.
Oh, thank you. Where was it?
Oh, I just ran my fingers through my hair, and there it was.
Oh, thank you. Come on, Harold.
The rest of the passengers sat silently and quietly in their seats. Some reading, some just staring out of the window. Then I saw one man who was just looking at me with a little smile on his face. The smile widened, and I smiled back. He came over to me.
Mind if I sit down?
No, not at all.
Thanks. You meet all kinds of people on a bus. That's why I like to ride on them.
Oh, do you make a habit of it?
Well, I guess you could say I do. How about you?
Well, I don't ride buses as a rule.
I see. You on a business trip?
Well, I guess you could say I am.
Salesman?
No, I'm a writer.
What? A writer?
Oh, is that funny?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, so am I. A writer, I mean.
Is that so?
Well, my name's Trevor. William Trevor.
Well, mine's Holliday, Dan Holliday.
Well, I'll be. A mystery fiction writer, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, my stuff runs more to the scientific, but I get a lot of material on these buses.
You do? For example?
Well, a couple of years ago, I rode on the same bus with a man who killed 3 men.
Oh?
I talked with him. I had a cup of coffee with him at a stop. I never would have thought of him as a killer. I mean, he was no different from you or me or that fellow who gave you the book a few minutes ago.
I suppose lots of people who appear normal aren't really as normal as they seem.
I guess not. Going far, Dan?
Yes, all the way.
Well, I'll leave you to your reading. Oh, murder mystery. You like them?
Sometimes I do. It all depends on how I feel.
I know what you mean. Well, I think I'll try a little nap for a few minutes. I'll see you later.
He went back to his seat. I sat, pretended to read. But no one else spoke to me or paid any attention to me. And the bus went on, and on. The bus made its first stop after an hour's ride. I got off, as did the rest of the passengers. Everyone took a stretch, and then...
Aboard! All aboard, please! All aboard!
I ducked behind a post and waited. Waited until the bus pulled out. I looked around. I was just going to board a return bus
when... Dan! I thought you were going all the way.
Oh, I changed my mind, Mr. Trevor.
Oh.
I thought you were going all the way.
Did I say that? I don't think so.
I may have imagined it.
That could be. I know I didn't say it. Look, this is the stub of my ticket. It's punched as far as this stop.
He was right. His ticket was punched only as far as his stop. I looked at him. He must have seen the expression on my face because...
Hey, don't you feel well?
Yes, I'm all right. Why?
Well, you had a kind of funny look on your face, as though you expected something to happen that didn't. Or maybe I'm imagining things now.
You going back to the city?
Yeah, sure. Come on, this is a return bus. Looks like we'll be able to get a seat.
Hey, Trevor. Trevor.
Oh, we're back, huh? Well, a short trip and a merry one.
A merry one? That could be.
Say, I wonder if you'd come to my place some evening for a chit-chat. My wife would love to meet somebody who's successful with his writing.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm not the picture of the successful writer. I've had a lot of disappointment.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll be glad to.
Could you make it tonight?
Well, I don't...
Look, we're having some people over. My wife would get a big kick out of having a real live writer, a good one, that is, come over to the house.
All right, if I find I'm free. I'll be there.
Well, hey, here's my name and address. My wife will get a kick out of this. Here. Now, please, try to make it, will you?
Sure, I'll try.
Okay, I'll see you later then, and thanks.
He got off of the bus ahead of me and walked away. I wondered about a lot of things. Trevor had been the only one of the original passengers who had taken the return bus with me. Yet, his ticket was punched for the first stop. If he'd wanted to keep track of me, he would have bought a ticket all the way through because he couldn't have known I'd get off. I decided to accept his invitation because, well, I had to find out sooner or later. And so that night, I stood on the doorstep outside Trevor's home. Inside, a radio was playing. I could hear people laughing, talking. I rang the doorbell and waited.
Hey, Holiday, you did come.
Oh, are you surprised?
Oh, sure I am. You know how those invitations usually work out and nobody goes anyplace. Come on in and meet the gang.
Oh, I'll be glad to.
Look, old man, if those goons in there start chewing your head off with questions and you get bored, you just give me the high sign. We'll break it off, okay?
Mr. Trevor, you have no idea how glad I am to be among people.
Huh? What do you mean?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. I just like people, that's all.
I see. In here, Holiday. Surprised, Holiday?
Your wife. And some guests, huh?
I'll turn it off. That's an excellent record. It's used for sound effects and radio, I believe.
Open that door.
No, not yet. Sit down, Holiday.
Trevor, listen to me. You're a fool even to try to get away with this.
Oh, I've gotten away with it before. 5 times, to be exact. Now, don't force me to shoot you yet. Sit down.
5 times?
Yes. But this one is the most exciting. Sit down, Holiday. That's better. Now, I must say that bus trick of yours was very clever, Holiday. But my trick was a little more so.
You actually bought a ticket as far as the first stop.
Of course. If you'd gone on, it would have been a simple matter for me to pay the difference in fare. But you are clever.
Trevor, listen to me. You're not well. Now, let's stop this nonsense right now.
Not well. I'm well, all right. The rest of the world is made up of fools and idiots. But I like you, Holliday. So much so that I'm going to give you a chance.
Chance? What kind of a chance?
You sit at one end of that long table. I'll sit at the other. Go ahead.
Now what?
Now, neither of us can reach the other. I have two guns here. One for you and one for me.
You're going to give me a gun?
Exactly. Did you ever hear of Russian roulette? I see you have. I'll put one bullet in each gun. One and only one. I'll spin the cylinders on each revolver so that neither of us knows in which chamber the bullet is. Now, the bullet in your gun may be in the chamber under the hammer. Or it may not. The same for mine. Here, catch.
Trevor, for the last time, let me out of here.
No! You play the game. Point the gun at me, Holliday, as I point mine at you. So, if your bullet is under the hammer, you'll kill me. If mine is under the hammer... Ready? Squeeze the trigger, Holliday, because I'm going to.
Trevor, stop it.
I'm rather tired, Holliday. And this may be the end. When I count 3. 1, 2, 3. We're both lucky. All right. Once more.
There was one long chance. To my right was the only light in the room, a student lamp on a small table. I waited until Trevor counted to 3, then dived for the lamp.
What?
It was dark. I heard Trevor move, and then...
Holliday! Holliday!
Stay where you are, Trevor.
Don't try to get out the door, Holliday. I know exactly where it is. Now fire.
I've got a bullet, too.
Have you? Do you think I'm a fool? You've got a fake in your gun. You try it. Oh, this is more exciting than I ever imagined it would be. Holliday, you may as well take it now, because you'll never get out alive.
Go ahead, fire at me. When do you think you'll get the loaded chamber, Trevor?
I'm going to kill you. I must kill you.
The next chamber's the one, Trevor, and you'd better hit me.
I'll wait. I'll wait until I can see you.
Will you? Then you'll have to wait until morning. By that time, I'll be missed, and my secretary knows where I've gone. Then they'll come here, Trevor. They'll come here and take you away.
No.
They'll put you where you'll get better because you're sick, Trevor, very sick.
No.
Think of it, Trevor. Long nights and days where you can't get out.
Shut
Long nights and days. They'll come for you, Trevor. They'll come for you in the morning.
Holliday? Holliday? Holliday?
You poor devil. You poor devil. I'm sorry.
And you were locked up in that dark room with him.
Yeah, Susie. It wasn't nice. But now he's locked up, where he can't harm anyone or himself.
You know what, Mr. Holliday? You need a nice long rest.
Oh, say it again, Susie. Say it again.
You sure do. Why don't you take a nice bus ride someplace?
But... Good night, Susie.
Next week, same time, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville, with this week's original story by Russell Hughes. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager. Part of Susie is played by Sylvia Picker, and production is supervised by Vern Karstensen. Box 13 is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture.
Welcome back. Wow, that has to be the biggest nut to actually contact Box 13. I was kind of surprised that he was as blasé about it as usual. Oh, well, it's probably just a joke. But it made for a fascinating, well put together mystery story. And apparently Holiday's book sales are good enough that he can continue to take the risk. Just, selling a lot of books, so we'll continue to run the ad despite the risk. All right, well, we got a comment. Thanks for the time and effort that goes into getting these out to us. My favorites are Box 13 and Let George Do It, but I'm hopeful you'll get to Nero Wolf, hint, hint. Well, we definitely hope to. And I should probably just update everybody on where we're at, like when we might see some new changes to the lineup. Well, this was our 36th episode of Box 13, so we have 16 weeks of Box 13 left. And including tomorrow's show, we have 5 episodes of Jeff Regan with Jack Webb, and then another 13 episodes of Jeff Regan with Frank Graham. So we'll see some other shows being added in November. We have more than 150 episodes of Let George Do It, and even more than that on Sherlock, Holmes, and Johnny Dollar. So that's where we stand. So you'll be seeing some shows call into the rotation in November, and I will talk about what some of those shows will be in August. Today, ever so briefly, I want to remind you about Audible. With Audible, you get the access to the best in audio entertainment for a reasonable monthly subscription fee. And you can pick what you listen to, whether it's old-time radio collections of several hours, or the latest bestsellers, or a classic. You can pick your favorites, and you also get a complimentary audio subscription, your choice, Wall Street Journal or New York Times. And that's, go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio for a 2-week trial and a free audiobook. Now let's get into today's episode of Jeff Regan, The Pilgrim's Progress.
My name's Regan. I get 10 a day and expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
With Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, the Lion's Eye, stand by for hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of the Pilgrim's Progress.
The Cosmopolitan Building, 7th Street near Olive, downtown L.A. A mess of granite thrown together by an architect who must have taken his degree on the rock pile at Leavenworth. It's up on the 3rd floor, room 308, right next to a credit dentist who shares his office with a collection agency. On the other side, there's a school for models, and the Lion's got sore eyes trying to see through that cloudy glass. International Detective Bureau, Anthony J. Lyon, President. He's also Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer. I work for him. Well, the office isn't much, but there's enough elbow room for a client to write a check. I went to the office Friday night about 5:20, answering the Lion's call. He was sitting behind the desk sucking on a quarter cigar. He looked real pleased, like a fat lady locked in a cream puff factory.
Man I know had a baby. Plumber named Broman or Groman or something like that.
Muzzle tough.
Cancel any arrangements you got for the night. I got something for you to do. Got your car?
It's in the lot.
Gas it up. You're taking a trip.
Where to?
Calabasas. A man wants to see you.
I got no friends out there.
Friend of mine named Hendricks. He counts his money with an adding machine, and his finger's always swollen.
What's the problem?
I don't know. He didn't say. He just called and told me to send out a man.
How much did he give you for a retainer?
When an important man like Hendricks calls, you don't insult him by asking for money.
Oh, stop it, will you? You're the kind of guy who'd steal pennies out of parking meters.
That's enough, Regan.
If one of them turned up empty, you'd sue the city.
Here's the Hendricks address. Now get out there.
All right.
Regan.
Yeah?
Remember, do a good job, and I'll give you Thanksgiving off, and I'll pay you.
With what, cranberries? Well, Well, I headed out Beverly and then up through Hollywood. You know, it's only November, but Santa Claus is breaking out all over the boulevard. I fought my way over Cahuenga Pass, and by the time I was dodging station wagons on Ventura, it was dark. Calabasas is a place with a couple of service stations, a hot dog stand, and a few road signs full of buckshot. The Hendricks place turned out to be about 5 miles down a road that the Indians built for hauling firewater. I guess they couldn't keep the cork in. But the house itself was strictly prohibition stuff. A big pile of slate roof and leaded windows. It looked dark and lonesome. I figured somebody had their holidays mixed.
Hiya, Pilgrim!
It was a big fat guy. He was holding a 6-foot gun the shape of a straightened-out tuba. He came closer, and I could see his hat. It was a high one with a buckle on it. He was dressed in black, and he had buckles all over him. I figured that I'd been eating too much Quaker Oats.
What's the matter, Pilgrim? A little shooting make you nervous?
That's a big gun there.
Shoots musket balls. Good for Indians.
Well, I'm no Indian.
Oh, I wasn't aiming at you.
Well, that gun wouldn't know the difference.
It's a blunderbuss. Great weapon.
Is it?
I'll show you. Hey, you prop it up on a crutch.
You keep fooling with that thing, and we'll both need one.
Now, let's be quiet. Load the barrels. Lots of powder.
Look, why don't you give that thing back to the museum?
See, that's it. It's more powder. Gotta use lots of this black powder.
Buster, you need black coffee. Come on, give me that thing before it blows up in your face. You broke a window.
Oh, it's all right. It was only the attic.
You live here?
Of course not, Pilgrim. I'm Miles Standish.
Well, where's the rest of the party?
All inside, talking to John Olden.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you just think I'm kidding, don't you? Pilgrim, you just haven't got the Mayflower spirit.
No, you drank it all.
It's just cider. Nothing better on a cold New England night.
Thanksgiving's not for a week. Come on, get off it.
Hark.
What's the matter? Put that down.
I'm not going to shoot him. He's a friendly type.
Brother Regan?
Yeah?
If thou wilt follow me, please.
Oh, you too, huh?
I beg your pardon?
Okay.
Well, so long, Pilgrim.
Yeah, keep your powder dry, Standish.
I'll see you on Plymouth Rock.
Okay, this way, Brother Regan.
Now, look, Sunshine, you work here.
My name is Phelps.
Why don't you lock that guy up?
I'd be outnumbered, sir. 21, Pilgrim.
Bad winter. They make you wear those corduroy knickers?
Knee breeches, sir. It was Priscilla's idea.
You need a union.
I need more shapely legs. Through here.
Well, it's quite a place you got.
Well, it looks better without the decorations, sir.
Yeah. How do you keep from stepping on these pumpkins?
It's only when they use them for bowling that it's difficult.
Come on, fill me in. What's this all about?
Thanksgiving, sir. 1621. Okay, this room here, sir. Go right in.
Okay.
Shut the door. Shut it.
Mr. Hendricks around?
He's not here. Come over, sit down.
Who are you, Priscilla?
Please don't say another word of that silly rigmarole or I'll start screaming.
Yeah, well, I could use a little yell myself.
I'm Agnes. I'm Mrs. Hendricks. Or Agnes.
It doesn't make any difference.
Does to my friends. Didn't I say sit down?
Yes, you did, and I didn't. So you don't like the party, huh?
I'm not much of a Puritan, Mr. Regan.
Well, that Great Dane says the masquerade was your idea.
Phelps is stupid. This goes on all weekend, Mr. Regan. It's called a turkey shoot.
Oh, so that's it. Who gets the bird?
The Pilgrim fathers. My husband's friends. They ought to be shot, every one of them.
Yeah, well, I'm not from the SPCA.
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Regan. I like you.
That's not the point.
I won't bore you.
Your husband might.
Him. He's crazy, Mr. Regan. Crazy as the things he does. Shooting, drinking, spending money.
A hard life.
I don't know how I stood it for as long as I have. My lawyer says I'm the most patient woman in the world.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the conversation, Miss Hendricks.
Why did my husband send for you?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. You do know. Tell me.
I don't know.
Please. You don't realize what kind of a man my husband can be.
I never met him.
You don't know how much I need help. How lonely I am.
Well, where is he?
tell you if you promise to come back to me.
No, I'll write you a letter.
He's out in the shed, other side of the patio.
Thanks.
I wouldn't act this way if I weren't so frightened. You don't know what it is to be frightened all the time.
No, but I'm learning.
I wish you'd stick around, Mr. Regan.
Well, thanks, Mrs. Hendricks, but the pin feathers are a little sharp. Mrs. Hendricks went back to her worrying, and I wound my way through the house looking for the back entrance. My legs got tired before it finally showed on the other side of the pantry. It poured out into a flagstone patio as big as the Palladium. A walk took me to a shed. It was a two-story redwood place that must have made a loud noise on the cash register, and alongside, fenced in with chicken wire, was a whole population of turkeys. Well, I went into the shed. There was a little round-faced guy with pink skin was leaning over a barrel of cider. He wore a blue silk smoking jacket with gold initials EH on the pocket. When he caught my footsteps, his head bobbed up, and he gave me a deep look like he was trying to see the back of my eyeballs.
Yes?
I'm Regan, International Detective Bureau.
Oh, I've been expecting you. I'm Hendricks.
Yeah, no. Why the fireworks?
Huh? Oh! Miles Standish and his blunderbuss, huh? Oh, just having fun. It's a party, you know. Big party we're having here.
Yeah, well, the neighbors will complain.
Ah, neighbors. None for miles around. That's why I like it out here. Have trouble finding me?
You ought to put up signs.
Signs? Glass of cider, Regan? Carefully. Yes.
I'm not thirsty.
Yeah. That's not what it's for. Strong kind. Oh, go on. Thanksgiving soon. Get the spirit.
No, I can hold out till Thursday.
Suit yourself. Excuse me. There's going to be quite a party here, you know.
Your wife's got a different version.
Oh, you spoke to her?
Yeah.
You were told to come out here to see me?
I got sidetracked.
It's not good for a man in your position.
All right, Hendricks, why am I here?
What'd she say to you?
I forgot.
Regan, you're making me angry.
Now, look, mister, you didn't get me out here to make a pilgrim out of me.
No, of course not. Fine woman, Mrs. Hendricks. We've been married for years, you know, happily. Fine little woman. Just she makes me a little nervous at times.
Would you like the sound of guns going off?
She shouldn't get so excited. Boys just having a little fun. It's only once a year. What's wrong with that?
Come on, now, what's the job?
Didn't the lion tell you?
He said you would.
Oh, well, nothing to be so mysterious about. They've just got a package I want you to take to them. Here it is. A turkey.
You got me all the way out here to play escort to that bird?
Yes, I just want to be friendly. Here. Now, go on. It's a long way back to L.A., and you want to be there for Thanksgiving.
What's the difference? I got the turkey. I can celebrate any time. 60 miles to do a delivery job on a dead bird. Well, I wandered back to my car, and I listened to the crickets and the gunshots try to outdo each other. And then I dumped the turkey into the back seat, and I started the car down the drive. I just noted around the bend when the headlights caught a pair of buckled shoes and black knee breeches. Miles Standish was lying face down in the dirt, and there was a wet shine on his side. It was freezing hard. Blunderbuss was lying beside him, and I figured that he blew out the wrong end. I would have gone for the Hendricks phone and a doctor, but I got a good look at the holes in him, and I headed for a hospital instead. The blunderbuss may have been kicking up a fuss, but the holes in Miles Standish were 20th century, about the size of a .32. Well, I turned him over to an emergency hospital, and I put a call into the sheriff's office. I gave the story to Lieutenant Robinson, and then I headed back toward town. At the Lion's place, the lights were still on, so I figured he didn't have company. I rapped on the door, and he flung it open before the echo could die away. He had a carving knife in one hand, and he was wearing an apron. His eyes were big, and he had an eager look like a college couple on Mulholland Drive.
Regan, you're back.
Oh, now that takes a big brain.
I've been waiting for you. You know, I had a chance to go to a classy party tonight. Russian caviar and champagne and favors to all the guests. Know why I didn't go?
You lost your crash suit, huh?
I said to myself, is it fair to go out and have a good time while my employee is working real hard for international detectives?
The answer came out yes, but the party was called off.
Well, as a matter of fact, it was. But I wouldn't have gone anyway. Where is it?
Where's what?
The package from Hendricks.
Now, you can change your plans, big shot. You're getting a bundle of trouble instead.
What do you mean?
Turkeys aren't the only thing they're knocking off out on that ranch.
Huh?
Somebody's handy with a .32, and he's found a target.
You've been drinking?
Check the county emergency hospital. They'll show you the holes.
I send you out on a simple little job, and you come back with a crazy story about a shooting. You're out of your mind.
Now, listen, you, there's a big smell out in Calabasas.
What about my turkey?
The sheriff's office are going to have a lot of questions. You got the answers?
I don't know anything. I was miles away.
Well, then find out something. Check into the guy who shot. Find out who he is, what he does, and what he was doing out at Hendricks.
Where you going?
Scratch around in the Hendricks closet. They tell different stories about their wedded bliss.
Hey, Regan.
Yeah?
Where's my turkey?
It's too rich for your blood, Fatso. Stick to chicken. Well, I left him standing there with his apron hanging out. Miles Standish might get enough wind through that extra hole to say who shot him, but more likely not. Anyway, with the bucket load he had, he would have sworn it was the last of the Mohicans. But there was an angle of that Hendricks woman, even if it didn't show. So I walked up the street to where my car was nuzzling a lamppost. And the turkey and I were just going to wake up a newspaper office, only something changed my mind. A newspaper. It was wrapped around a bundle, and the bundle was under a guy's arm, and the arm was shutting the door of my car. Good evening, Pop.
Hi.
Going somewhere?
Sure. Find a place to sleep, that's all.
Want a cigarette?
Say, I don't mind if I do. Let's use a bull for a minute. You mind if I take two?
No, help yourself.
My brother smokes too. Not much in the streets these days.
Yeah, it's bad all over.
Yeah, something ought to be done.
Stick around, Pop.
No, Sonny. You give me smokes. I don't hit you for cash. It's a rule I got.
I'll make the touch.
What's that?
What's in the newspaper?
Russia.
Inside.
A funny paper.
Yeah, sure.
Well, now take it easy, boss. The guy's got a right to his privacy.
You weren't sleeping in my car.
Oh, so that's it, huh? Yours, huh? Small world, ain't it?
Yeah, come on, let's unwrap.
Now, it's Thanksgiving, Mac. Ain't you heard of Thanksgiving?
I'm going to plug my ears. Give.
Now, please, Mac, show me the spirit. Once in my life, both drumsticks.
Oh, stop it, you're breaking my heart.
I mean it, Mac. Let me have it. I'll break the wishbone for you, Sonny. I will. You ain't got no use for all that meat, have you? Oh, you have, huh? Oh, so long, Mac.
Hey, wait a minute. Hold it.
No, let go of my arm.
That was a pretty dance, but you should have changed your shoes.
What's that?
You didn't get those buckles in the breadline.
Oh.
Now, come on, change the record. Who are you?
That's none of your business. Let go.
I said talk.
I will not.
You're from the Hendricks place, aren't you? You're from the... Oh.
Thank you, Phelps.
That's all right. Got the bed?
Sure. Let's go.
Yeah. Nighty-night, Pilgrim.
You are listening to the story of the Pilgrim's Progress, tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, investigator. Commissions are still available in the Army Nurse Corps. Graduate registered nurses between the ages of 21 and 45 may qualify for service with this fine organization. If you are interested in joining the Army Nurse Corps and believe you qualify for a commission, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now, back to Jeff Regan, investigator, and the story of the Pilgrim's Progress.
Well, none of it made sense. The Lion sent me out to pick up a turkey on the Hendricks Ranch in Calabasas, and the Mr. and Mrs. were having an old-fashioned turkey shoot, and all the guests carried blunderbusses and dressed like pilgrims. Only it wasn't just the turkeys who were acting as targets. One of the pilgrims ended up with some .32 caliber holes in them. And then the Hendricks lackey and a buddy shoved a gun at me and stole the Lion's bird. Well, I picked myself up and I went home. A heavy man was doing a heist job in my icebox. He was pouring himself a glass of milk to wash down a sandwich he was munching on.
Hi, Regan.
You're right ahead. Help yourself.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't know how long I was going to have to wait, and I was getting hungry.
There's a restaurant just up the block.
I like it better this way, homemade. Fix you a sandwich? Pretty good deviled ham.
Come on, let's close the box and open your mouth, buddy.
Why not? We had a date, remember? Robinson, sheriff's office.
That's what I figured.
You don't mind me coming in like this, do you?
What if I did?
Well, I'd leave. Sanctity of the home, you know. You can throw me out even though I got a badge.
Let's cut away the fat, mister. What do you want?
Answers to a couple of questions. What were you doing at the Hendricks place?
Picking up a turkey.
Well, that's a new one.
Now, look, you ask him. I'll answer him. Never mind the feature page.
How long have you known the Hendricks?
Never met him before.
Wrong answer.
What do you mean?
We found this out at the Hendricks house. The page torn out of the yellow directory with a red circle around International Detective.
Well, that doesn't say a thing.
Maybe yes, maybe no. I'm still scratching around.
It'll ruin your manicure.
You know, Regan, you don't seem to realize the seriousness of this. That Pilgrim you dragged in died.
Well, I figured.
We don't like unsolved murders messing up our record books.
Well, then you're wasting your time here.
I got lots of it. I don't come up for pension for 12 more years. What was that Pilgrim's name?
He gave me Miles Standish.
Sounds like a fake.
Well, don't count on it. I once knew a John Smith.
Give me the real name.
I don't have it.
All right. He's an out-of-town boy, but we'll track him down. Now, straighten out something for me, Regan. How long did you say you knew the Hendricks?
Now, look, I gave this to you once. Nothing's changed.
How come we find a $5,000 check in that joker's pocket made out to cash and signed by Hendricks? Go ahead, answer. Just don't make a date. You may not be available.
Yeah?
Mr. Regan, this is Mrs. Hendricks. I must see you right away.
What did you say?
Mrs. Hendricks, you remember?
Charlie? No, there's no Charlie here. You must have the wrong number.
Sort of annoying, isn't it, Regan, when you get a wrong number late at night?
Well, it happens.
Sure it does. Happened to me once.
Anything else you want?
Another deviled ham sandwich?
Kitchen's closed.
Pretty rotten hospitality.
Well, you weren't asked.
Okay, I gotta move anyway. See you later, Regan. Keep the mud off your shoes.
GR3408.
Hello?
Mrs. Hendricks, this is Regan.
I just called you.
Well, I couldn't talk. What do you want?
Can you come out, Mr. Regan? Right away.
You still lonely?
Things aren't going well.
Well, murder's like that.
I've got to talk to somebody. Won't you please come?
Give me a reason.
I can tell you some things now I couldn't mention before.
Like why your husband wrote a $5,000 check to the dead man?
Check? But there must be some mistake.
What do you mean?
My husband couldn't write a check that large. He doesn't have any money of his own. It's all in my name.
All right. Put a lantern in the window, lady. I'll need some light. Well, I headed out there fast. But when I raised the racket with a brass knocker, nothing happened. I tried a window, and a couple of scratches later, I was in the hall. The place looked empty, like the Rose Bowl on January 2nd. I found Miss Hendricks' room, where I talked to her and stepped inside. The decorations were different.
Sheriff's office. Robinson.
This is Regan. I got something for you.
It better be good.
You're going into overtime.
What do you mean?
Bring some boys out to the Hendricks place with a wet rag. Somebody blew out Mr. Hendricks' fuse. Well, I backed out of the room, and I made it for the bar trying to turn up a bottle. In the corner, something else turned up instead. Another dead body. The turkey Phelps and his buddy had stolen from me. Somebody real eager had done a carving job on it before it was even cooked. They'd torn it apart like they were looking for something. Well, it was morning before the sheriff's boys cleaned up the Hendricks mess and we got back to town. Robinson had a few more questions, but I was still short on the answers. Ballistics had one, though. Same gun did the job on both Miles Standish and Hendricks. That's all. Homicide was getting places in a hurry, like a snail hauling a piano. Well, the lion was waiting for me outside the sheriff's office, and he pulled me to the side. His eyes were lit up like a pinball machine, and you could tell he'd caught the scent of a greenback.
They treat you okay, Regan?
Good enough.
No rough stuff?
Well, nothing that shows, no.
Regan, we're in luck. I've been turning up things. We've been playing the wrong horse.
Well, that figures you're good at picking losers.
Hendricks is a piker, a social climber.
He's a dead one.
I'll send him flowers, but I'm telling you, he could only write checks for 5 G's.
With a big bounce.
Somebody else in this thing can write bigger ones.
Well, let me guess who.
Mrs. Hendricks, that's who. I tell you, Regan, it pays to keep up your connection.
How high can she go?
The sky is below sea level.
What else you got?
Standish is a phony moniker.
That's grammar school.
Real name Jeffrey Kelly, age 42. He's a wholesale jeweler. He had a little business with Mrs. H. $250,000 worth.
That's going to run up his taxes.
He can handle it.
What did he do for her?
I drew a blank, but he deposited her certified check at the bank yesterday morning.
How does Phelps figure?
I don't know.
Well, who's the little man in the big overcoat?
I can't do everything. You gotta do some work, too.
Yeah, sure.
Now, find Mrs. Hendricks. Offer her the services of international detective at our usual nominal rate, but don't underplay it. Now, get busy.
Where you going?
Home to bed. A man's gotta get some sleep.
Well, the time was ticking out, but the game wasn't over yet. I figured to have a fast finish, and the Lion had a pretty good idea about catching some shut-eye. So I moved to the office and to stretch out on the couch. But through the glass, I could see there was a light on. Company was inside.
Crestview 2045. Phelps, no luck. I looked all over. I told you, I tore the place apart. Nothing's here. I'm trying my best. Stop harping. Oh, well, it must be someplace else. Okay, right away.
Leave a nickel, Buster.
Huh? Oh, Regan.
You looking for something?
You, Pilgrim.
What else?
Plymouth Rock.
Come on, punk, level it.
All right, coax me.
All right, because you've been crying for this. Now, flatten out. Well, it felt good to watch the big guy fall. He folded in like a steeple in an earthquake. When his head bounced on the Lion's carpet, it figured he was due for a long sleep, so I went through his pockets. Ticket stubs from the prize fights, the gun, and the pocket knife I dumped into the safe. It was a pass to the Dons game on November 25th. He must have swiped that from his boss, so I filed that in the Lion's desk for future reference. But this guy Phelps had taken orders from somebody besides Hendricks. I just heard him do it on the phone. So when I turned up an old envelope with 832 North Palm stretched in the back, I crossed my fingers. He'd been calling a Crestview number, and the phone book said that I had a lead. North Palm was in the Crestview exchange area. So I called for the cops to sweep up Brother Phelps, and I climbed back onto my broomstick. I drove out through Beverly Hills. I wound up in front of a big Spanish house with potted $10 bills on the driveway. There was a new Nash sticking out of the garage, and I walked around to take a look. But honest John had beat me to it.
Who's there?
Now, stick around. I want to talk to you.
Stand back. Stand back.
You like cars, don't you? Maybe you want a hot rod.
Oh, you don't. Get away from me.
Hey. Well, it was the little turkey fan that I'd last seen in an overcoat. Phelps' buddy. He took out of there like a cow in deer season, so I let him go. No license. Well, I took a look around the car he'd been sniffing, but nothing showed except the registration. It said Mrs. Agnes Hendricks. I went to the house and rang the doorbell, and she answered.
Oh, what's you? Mr. Regan.
All right, I'll ask myself in.
Yes, come in.
Who are you expecting, John Alden?
No, I'm glad to see you.
You know, I don't like girls who break dates.
Oh, that.
Yeah, that's one thing.
I couldn't help it. I couldn't wait for you to come all the way to Calabasas.
You got impatient on account of a body in the house.
You saw him?
Yeah, after I tripped over him in your room.
I didn't do it.
Did I say you did?
You've got to believe me.
Relax. I look like a jury. You got multiple vision.
Oh, Mr. Regan, I was so frightened. I didn't know which way to turn.
We've been through all that woman driver routine. You don't like your husband. You wanted to get rid of him.
But only in Reno.
All right, now let's get back to page 1. You gave 250 G's to a jeweler named Kelly. You bought a rock.
What?
A rock, Plymouth Rock. It's a diamond. It's got to be.
Well,
why'd you do it? Who'd you buy it for?
Myself. My lawyer said I should get it for myself, that's all.
He likes you pretty, huh?
No, it was a community property thing. He said I could keep my husband from knowing how much money I had when he asked for a divorce settlement.
Only hubby got wind of the deal.
I guess so.
Well, you're making sense. Only why did he write a check to Kelly?
Well, it was a small one. It must have been for a paste imitation, don't you think?
That's not my business. Keep dealing.
I mean, maybe he planned on switching them and getting my real one.
Yeah, that's been done.
But he actually did it. Because all through this, there's been a diamond in the place where I always keep it.
All right, you got a strong boy, Phelps. Had him out looking for the real diamond.
What?
And the other guy, the old man, was out in the garage.
No.
Phelps tore up my office, phoned here to you.
Mr. Regan.
Now, look, there's been 2 guys killed.
Mr. Regan.
Good evening, Pilgrim.
Where's your overcoat?
Stand still, please.
Yeah, my foot's in a crack.
Mr. Regan, this is John Alden.
Oh, can it, will you? I've seen him act one part already.
That's true. Mine is the only name that's real. This is my house, Mr. Regan.
Lawyer?
Yes, I came here to see him, Mr. Regan. I just got here before you
Be
did.
quiet, Agnes.
Well, I got it all now.
You won't keep it.
Phelps took his orders from you.
It's a waste of testimony.
You started this. Spotted the gem switch. Figured to cash in.
You're losing your chip.
Shut up, will you? I got aces. Hendricks outfoxed you. You never found a real diamond.
5 in the hand draws blood.
Mr. Alden, don't...
Now, you keep out of this, Agnes.
She's not in it. You are.
That's all, Regan.
All right, come on, drop it. Drop it.
Go there.
I guess I hit him with the paste one.
Huh?
Look, the diamond. It broke.
Yeah.
It was just luck. I have the other one, too. I thought Alden was honest. I came to tell him I found it in my husband's cider.
Well, that tears it. Come on, Priscilla. That docks the Mayflower. Well, the whole thing folded in like an elephant on a pogo stick. Yeah, the lawyer did it all right, both of them. When he spotted what Hendricks was up to with that diamond switch, he moved in, but not for his client. The jeweler, Miles Standish, alias Kelly, got bumped because he was the only one who could tell the real diamond from a phony. But Hendricks got wise to the muscle act, and so he got shot. Well, the lion was real happy the way it worked out. That dame with the nerves wrote him a check. So he invited me out to Thanksgiving dinner. He offered me any part of the turkey that I wanted. I told him, but I got it anyway.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Herb Butterfield as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS at the same time next week for more hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by Larry Roman and Jackson Gillis. Produced by Sterling Tracy. Featured in tonight's story were Mary Lansing, Marvin Miller, Paul Frees, and Paul DeBove. Original music for this program is by Milton Charles. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. I don't think that was quite the way John Bunyan wrote it. I will say that the use of Pilgrim never made more sense than in this episode. This was just a madcap episode. Just so many amazing twists and turns. It was almost surreal. And a very rare Thanksgiving episode of an old-time radio show. This one, it would almost make sense to save for Thanksgiving if we were still going to be playing that show around Thanksgiving time. But anyway, we have a comment on Podcast Alley from Dan who says, Adam, great podcast. I enjoy the shows and your commentary. Keep up the good work. Keep digging for more history on the actors. Thanks so much for making my drive every day better. Well, thanks so much, Dan, and we definitely will continue to look for new information. Today I'm doing something a little special. A friend of mine, Donna Crow, is a multi-published mystery author, has a new book out, and it is actually available at a 99-cent special today to your Kindle. The title of the book is Shadow of Reality, and it tells the story of a mystery weekend that blurs the line between reality and fantasy dangerously. If you're a fan of Dorothy Sayers, you'll like this book as well. Go to greatdetectives.net and click on the link, and you can purchase it on Kindle. And, of course, there are Kindle apps for iPhone and iPod, as well as your PC and BlackBerry. All right, well, let's go ahead and we will get into today's episode. This one is called Stand In for Murder. Let's go ahead and we'll listen, and then we'll come back.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. Stand In for Murder, another adventure of George Valentine.
Personal notice, danger's my stock and trade. If life is throwing you a sneak punch and you don't know how to dodge, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Valentine, I bet you never heard this one before. I've got to commit a crime to keep from being a criminal. No use kidding anybody. What I've got to do involves murder, and I'm the fall guy, the clay pigeon. All the way here on the train, I try to figure out of the frame. Well, there's no way unless I can get some help. You can't get in touch with me, so I'll be dropping in on you. The name's Bill Moran.
It doesn't matter what I did in the past, Valentine.
Well, it's fairly important to me, Moran, if I'm going to take this case.
Okay. I can tell you this much. I happen to be innocent, but the evidence stacks up against me.
That's an old and familiar refrain, isn't it?
Yeah, but it happens to be true, lady. They just have to see the police on me, and I'll be eating my meals off a tin plate.
Who are they, in quotes?
Oh, some boys back east. You could call them gamblers, except they never bet on anything but a sure thing.
I see. In other words, they're blackmailing you into this job you've got to do.
It's the only way they'll let me get out of the racket. Make them forget what they have on me.
Okay, suppose I take this thing. Just suppose, that is. What is it you've got to do?
That's just it. I don't know, Valentine.
But you said something in your letter about murder.
And I'm not even guessing, lady. They wouldn't be sending me all the way across the country for anything else.
Well, you must have gotten some instructions.
Sure, right. Show up in Suite 817 at the Hawthorne tonight. The door will be open. And I'm supposed to go inside and sit down till somebody shows up. That's all I know.
Sounds like a new parlor game.
I'm one of those conservative gamblers who saved some of his money. So whatever it's worth for you to take my place, just name it. You can do it because nobody in this town knows me.
Oh, he can do it all right, Mr. Moran. But don't you think that anyone who's stand-in for a dead duck should have his head examined?
I didn't say this was going to be a picnic, lady. Well, Valentine?
Well, that's a nice scenario you got there, Moran. You want to get out of the racket, settle down, go straight. You haven't bought a chicken farm, too, have you?
Okay, forget it, Valentine. I didn't expect you to believe me.
I didn't say I didn't believe you. It's just hard to believe.
Oh, here. Perhaps you can believe this picture.
Yeah. She's very attractive.
And she doesn't look like she's out of the chorus at the Copacabana.
She works in a real estate office, $35 a week. And she lives with her mother in Brooklyn. And to make it real corny, her name is Mary.
Well, maybe I'm a sucker, fella, but I think you sold me.
Well, you may be buying more than you can handle this time, darling. Why don't you think it over?
I have, Brooksy. If Moran is telling the truth, he deserves a break from somebody.
Thanks, Valentine.
Let me have your wallet and any other means of identification.
Okay.
Where are you located in town?
Well, I was supposed to get in this morning, but I made it a day earlier, so I'd be sure I'd have nobody on my tail. I'm holed up in a cheap rooming house on Montgomery Street.
Okay, now here's what you do. Here's a key to my place. Write down the address, Angel.
Okay.
Don't even go back to that rooming house, Moran.
Yeah, but all
you
my
can
things
use
are
my
over.
things. Anyway, you're not going anywhere. Just sit there and play solitaire till you hear from me.
Here you are, Mr. Moran.
Sam at the switchboard will see that no one disturbs you. He'll also know if you go out.
Don't worry, I'll stay put.
All right, get going, Moran. You'll hear from me sometime tonight. I hope.
Take care of yourself, Valentine.
Oh, this is fine. What am I supposed to do? Knit one, purl two, and worry myself sick until this is over? George, this is...
Brooksy, I have a very important job for you. You've got to follow somebody.
What?
Yeah, me.
Oh.
For one thing, I want you to be outside the Hawthorne tonight when I go up to meet somebody I don't know and who fortunately doesn't know me.
Anything you say, Mr. Moran, you crazy lunk.
Well, the door opened without a time bomb going on. So it begins. Hey, what's wrong? Let me help you.
The knife.
I'll get that thing out of you and call a doctor. Hold on now.
Too late.
Mr. Clayton, I found those escrow papers in the file, and according to...
Hey, will you stop screaming? It's not going to wake him up. He's dead.
Don't come near me. You've got no reason to kill me, too.
What are you talking about?
Look, if you leave me alone, I'll just tell the police I found him that way. Tell them I didn't see who did it.
What do you mean you... Oh, I guess this does look bad. Knife in hand, body on the floor. Who are you anyway, sister? Come on, talk.
Mr. Clayton's secretary. We were working late. He wanted to get off on a vacation in a few days, and... Oh,
Now what? Why the delayed take?
you must be Moran.
Oh, I get it. This frame is beginning to look so perfect you could put a picture in it.
You wrote him all those threatening letters.
And I suppose they're all nicely tucked away for the cops to find.
Stay away from me. Help, somebody!
Go ahead, baby. Blow your top. Sorry I can't stick around for the double cross. The man I'm supposed to have killed, Brooksy, is Charles Clayton, vice president of the Colonial Savings Bank.
Oh, do you still want to go on with this little masquerade?
I'm going to call Lieutenant Riley. But you stay right here and keep your eye on the entrance of that hotel.
Well, what'll I do? Count the times the revolving door goes round?
No, you're going to wait till the cops get through with that secretary, then stick with her. See where she goes, everything she does.
Well, unless she's wearing a typewriter cover for a hat, how will I know her?
You can't miss her, Angel. She's got red, coppery hair down to her shoulders, the Hollywood version of the perfect secretary. In other words, you wouldn't be expecting her to take shorthand.
Okay, I'll keep in touch with you through the switchboard at your place.
Good girl. And there's my cue to get going.
Valentine, it costs the taxpayers a lot of money to train police officers.
Look, Lieutenant...
If you're going to take law enforcement all in your own little hands, they'll just have to sit around and get rusty. Now, you wouldn't want to see that happen, would you?
Oh, it wasn't a question of enforcing the law, Lieutenant. I was just trying to protect my client.
Well, we might have been able to help you in our awkward, unprofessional way. Why didn't you come to us first when this Moran guy waltzed in on you?
Because nothing happened first.
Yeah. The only thing to do with you is to give you desk space here at headquarters. At least that way we can keep an eye on you. Now, look, you.
Yes, Lieutenant?
We made a quick check, see? The gal you saw up at the Hawthorne was Clayton's secretary, all right, and the guy was trying to get things cleaned up so he could get off on a vacation. Those are facts, and nothing's wrong with them.
Yeah, well, here's another fact. I was kissed off and left to freeze against the cushion. Why? This isn't penny ante stuff, Lieutenant.
You're only guessing when you suspect the secretary, and you know it.
Oh, come on, Lieutenant. This thing is too pat. I walk in at the appointed time. There's a guy gasping on his last with a knife in him. And right then, Theo, baby, wanders in from the next room. So we have a batch of my fingerprints, a witness. And I understand some letters in the file supposedly written by Moran.
Yeah. You know, if it was anybody else but you, I'd slam you in the can so fast it would take your breath away.
Look, Lieutenant, let me have until tomorrow, just one day.
Okay, but if you don't come up with something by then, I'm going to have to ask you to hand over that client of yours.
It's a deal, but one more favor.
What do you want now, my badge?
The secretary, Theo Brown, will give you a description of Moran. And that description will be me.
Huh?
Let it stay that way.
Are you out of your head? You'll have every cop in town on your tail.
Yeah, maybe, Lieutenant. But I'm betting there'll be more than one character tipping his mitt when he finds out that Bill Moran, wanted for murder, is still on the loose.
Oh, George, I'm really beat around the edges this morning.
There you are, Angel. Have some of this coffee.
Thanks. I was back watching Thea's bungalow at 7 a.m.
No leads?
Not unless you can read something into them. About 8:30, Theo drove over to the Colonial Bank.
Well, sure, she works there.
Oh, well, she must be taking the day off. She got as far as the entrance, and she suddenly stopped. Looked a little frantic to me.
Yeah, well, what then?
She made a beeline to the Samba restaurant on Doris Boulevard.
Well, that place doesn't open till 6 o'clock.
Well, Theo sashayed in as though she had a half interest in the place.
Chick Hollis doesn't give away a half interest to anybody.
Well, she certainly wasn't visiting the porters or the scrub women.
Well, why not Chick Hollis himself? Yeah, sure. He's just the kind of a boy who likes these big, elaborate deals that would be hard to trace to him.
Yeah. There may be a connection between Theo and Hollis.
Things are beginning to open up, Brooksy. And if Hollis is behind it, I think I know a way to find out what this is all about. Hello, Theo.
What are you doing here?
Close the door. Now, if you start screaming again, you're going to suddenly lose your voice.
You didn't answer my question, Moran. What are you going to do?
I'm asking the questions. Nice place you got around here. Wasn't half bad waiting around all day to see you.
That gun on the coffee table doesn't scare me.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just cleaning it. I'll put it away.
Well, what do we do? Just sit here?
No, I got other plans. I've been looking through your closets and other places. And I found out a lot of things.
I hope my dainty washables met with your masculine approval.
Never mind that. What I want to know is how can a secretary afford 3 fur coats like I saw and a closet full of expensive dresses?
Maybe I saved my money.
Or maybe there's a simpler explanation.
I think I'll make myself a drink.
I mean Chick Hollis.
What? Never heard of the man.
Look, Theo, suppose you stop lying. Go on, sit down in that chair.
You don't care how you manhandle women, do you, Mr. Moran?
Now pick up that telephone. Call up Chick. But be sure you dial the right numbers. I know what they are.
What do you expect to get out of this, Moran?
Just wait and see. You might be surprised. Now just say, Moran is here with me, Chick.
What?
If you say any more, I'll put a period on the sentence with his gun.
All right. Hello? Moran is here with me, Chick.
That's all, Theo. Now you can make yourself a short drink. I don't think we'll have to wait very long. Why doesn't Hollis use his key, Theo? Or is he playing it safe? Stay where you are.
Theo, what do you mean by calling me?
You're in the right place, friend.
All right, you got muscle.
Oh,
So what?
There's a third act, sister. A guy like Hollis wouldn't come here alone. Well, little man, don't you want to come in, too?
What did you do to the boss? Why,
You're not going to do anything. I'll take that gun. All right, now the three of you. Go on, sit on that couch. I think I'm about to make a speech.
Now, wait a minute, Moran. Certainly we can come to an understanding about this.
You heard me wrong, Hollis. I said I was going to do the talking.
Chick, if you told me it might be like this, I could have done something about that monkey.
Best thing you can do, Squeaky, is keep your mouth shut. Right now, he's got all the cards.
Yeah, and I'm going to improve my hand as I go along. Hollis, you're a grade A sucker. You don't think anybody's smarter than you, and that's bad. All Theo said on the phone was that Moran is here, and the next minute you were leaning on the front door buzzer.
Well, Chick, have you got any answers?
Let's wait till he's through, huh?
If you never showed, Chick, I'd be left high and dry because I was only guessing. But now I know.
You know what?
I know this much, Squeaky. The big frame was on, and I was in the middle of it. If one of you doesn't tell me how I can get out of it, I'm going to kill the three of you.
Chick.
You see, Theo, I got nothing to lose.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. Meanwhile, a word about power. Have you ever driven up San Francisco's famous hill streets like Powell, Taylor, and Jones? Some hill. But try any hill with Chevron Supreme gasoline in your car and you'll say, some gas. For this premium quality gasoline specially blended to give your car its fullest, smoothest power on the steepest hills. Chevron Supreme means faster starts, too, and extra pep for quicker pickups in heavy traffic driving. Best of all, this premium quality gasoline is climate-tailored to give your car peak performance in each different altitude and temperature zone in the West. Why not try a tankful first thing tomorrow? Get Chevron Supreme at any independent Chevron gas station or standard station where they say and mean, we'll take better care of your car. And now back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. It's bad enough to play stand-in for a fall guy. It's really bad when the frame-up involves murder. Worse yet, if you're as stubborn as George Valentine, you carry on the masquerade even when you know that your client, Bill Moran, is being sought for murder. All of which leaves you, gun in hand, facing three desperate characters who'd like nothing better than to see you good and dead.
Oh, what's the matter with you three? Didn't you ever go to school? Can't you talk?
I think we can come to terms, Moran. I'm afraid you were framed and deserve some consideration.
Oh, now, Mr. Hollis, you're so good to me.
You can make any arrangements you want, Chick, but get this straight. None of this is coming out of my share. I worked too hard setting things up for the kill.
I like your choice of words, Theo.
If you just had have told me, Chick, I'd have come here prepared for this guy.
I know you feel naked without your arsenal, boy soprano, but sit down.
You hear what he called me? Someday I'm going to get him and nobody will even recognize him when I'm through.
Sit down, Squeaky. You too, Theo. Look, I'm a businessman, Moran. I settle when I have to.
Especially when a gun is pointed at you. Go on, keep talking.
Well, here's my proposition. I'll see that you get out of the country. A private plane and a pilot who knows where to set you down in Mexico.
Not good enough. What am I going to do, eat frioles for the rest of my life?
$5 grand?
Oh, I want to be able to afford a lottery ticket once in a while.
10 grand.
Let's not quibble about pennies and make it 20 grand. But if I do win a lottery, I'll send you half of what I make.
That's very funny. Now, come on, I'll stow you away for the night so nobody can find you. You can get started in the morning.
Oh, I got a place to stay. Right here.
Chick, you're not going to leave me here. Not with Miranda.
I always do what I have to. You know that, Theo.
Don't worry, sister. You're safe. The worst that can happen is my snoring. If you close the door of your bedroom and stay there, it's all going to be peace and quiet.
Isn't he a regular little gentleman?
Oh, Hollis, be sure to take that vest pocket gunsel with you.
Squeaky likes to take care of me.
And I like to take care of myself. Nobody's going to look for me in the apartment of the late Mr. Clayton's secretary.
All right, Moran, you're calling the shots. Oh, Theo.
Yes?
I think you better let me have the key. Maybe safer for everyone.
If you're worrying about me, don't.
Just the same, you'd better give it to me.
I said I'm going to keep it, Chick. Good night.
Didn't you hear what I... All right, good night. Come on, Squeaky.
That guy thinks he's through with me.
Even if I do find you loathsome, Moran, do you mind if I sit down next to you and have a brandy?
I don't care what you do.
Hey, what are you doing with my pocketbook? Give it to me.
I always wondered why women didn't carry knapsacks instead of pocketbooks. Uh-huh. What, no ham sandwiches?
Let me have that.
Okay.
Where are you going?
Just want to see something. Yeah. Our friend Squeaky is holding up a lamppost down there.
You think he might be waiting for you? Does it make you feel better, Moran?
I haven't felt good since I met you yesterday. Now, up you go.
What are you going to do with me?
You're going into that closet, sister. You won't freeze with all those fur coats in there.
No.
Hello? It's me, Brooksy. Safe? Like a babe nuzzling in his mother's arms. Now listen carefully. I'm at Theo's place and I could use some help. So get over here as soon as you can. Yes, Lieutenant, I know I only have till 12 o'clock. But if you'll just do this, maybe I'll have the answer by then.
Hey, you! Yeah, you, trying to hold up that lamppost.
Oh, me?
Yeah, get in the car.
But I didn't do anything.
It don't matter, Bub. I'm arresting you for loitering.
Well, Bill, here she is, Miss Theo Brown. You have no idea what trouble it was getting her here?
No, I smoked 10 packs of cigarettes today, Miss Brooks. Where's Valentine?
Oh, well, that shouldn't be as important to you as Theo. She's the one who put the finger on you, Mr. Moran.
Moran? But who is
Did you do that to me, lady?
Now, Bill,
Why?
just sit down.
I'm going to find out why, even if I
If
have
you
to
do,
give
Bill, you're going to have to walk over me to get to her.
What?
That's what I said. If you want everything to come out even for everybody, including Mary back in Brooklyn, you'll listen to me.
Oh, all right.
You and I are just going to see that Theo stays right here in George's apartment. That shouldn't be long. George may show up any time between now and the next century.
Come on in, Hollis. Come on in. This is your office. Make yourself at home.
What are you doing here, Moran?
Any reason I shouldn't be here? Unless you told Squeaky I shouldn't be.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, let's skip that.
Don't tell me this is merely a social call.
Anything but. I came to tell you you'll have to take more money out of the bank.
Look, Moran, what do you think I'm made of?
You got no choice but to dig it up. If you want to see Theo again.
Where is she?
Where she can scream as loud as she wants and it won't make any difference.
How much more do you want?
I want to be sure about that trip to Mexico without any fancy byplay. And I could use 10,000 more. In fact, I'm going to have it.
How would you like to have 20,000 more?
I don't quite get the lyrics, but the tune sounds okay.
Get rid of Theo. Get rid of her for good.
Oh, now I recognize the tone. It's the funeral march.
It's important to me. You may as well be hiding out for two murders as for one.
Oh, it's nice doing business with you, Hollis. As long as I never have to turn my back on you.
All you have to do is kill her. And bring me the key ring you'll find in her pocketbook.
Okay. But we'll play it my way.
Which is?
You go and get the money. You'll find me waiting here for you.
How do I know?
I can't afford to double-cross you.
All right, Moran. Just stay right where you are.
There's a man with his heart in the right place. Hello, Riley. This is Valentine. The trap's all baited and the rat is on his way. Yeah, I'll be down there as soon as I can, Lieutenant. After that, I think we'll have all the answers. So long. If Riley ever decided to throttle me, I think the jury would call it justifiable homicide.
You reach for your gun and I'll kill you.
Huh? Oh, when did you get out, Squeaky?
I got friends. I can get bail. You had me picked up, didn't you? Valentine.
Who's Valentine?
I've been in the next room listening. You just called the cops. I'm going to do Chick and me a favor and kill you.
You're an all-around boy, aren't you, Squeaky? Using a gun now.
I never killed that banker, but you gave me an idea. I think I will use a knife on you.
I always knew I was lucky.
It'll be nice and quiet. You're through wisecracking, Valentine.
Hey, now, wait a minute. Put that gun away. You couldn't cut a piece of cheese, you boy soprano.
Don't you call me that. Boy soprano. I'll show you.
You ought to know by now when you lose your temper, you only see red.
George, I was worried about you. I just saw Hollis leave the building. Oh.
Yeah, the gentleman on the floor, Brooksy, didn't like being called a boy soprano. What are you doing here anyway?
What a man. First he tells me to follow him, and when I finally catch up with him, he asks questions.
Oh, I guess you ought to be in on the payoff, Angel. But we'll have to wait. The bank doesn't open till 10.
Where do you intend to spend all that nice, crisp money, Hollis?
What's that?
Lieutenant Riley, homicide. No. Leave that safe deposit box out so we can take a good look at it.
Sure. What's all this about, Lieutenant? I'm a respectable businessman. I run a restaurant.
Hey, you also know how to kill and have someone else pay for it.
Moran.
Don't you lose him too quickly, George. He may die of shock.
The name is Valentine.
All right, your name's Valentine. What's the gag?
Moran's my client, and he didn't want to be framed. And you really dreamt up a few.
What have you been doing? Taking goof pills?
Mr. Hollis doesn't seem to take you seriously, George. You better convince him.
The first mistake you made, Hollis, is when you made such a commotion about a key when you were at Theo's place. Now, that made me curious.
Strange. How your curiosity doesn't interest me.
I got a good look at Theo's key ring. There was a key to a safe deposit box on it. That's what you were haggling about.
Can I call my lawyer, Lieutenant?
The lieutenant seems to be occupied, Mr. Hollis.
I traced the key down here to the Colonial Savings Bank. The box is in your name and Theo.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, nothing ordinary. But on the first of the month, when the bank examiners come around, they might just find that Vice President Clayton has been stashing away all sorts of money for his vacation with Theo.
Suddenly I can't hear a word you're saying.
That was nice long-range planning, getting Theo into the bank so she could make Clayton forget what they taught him in Sunday school.
$150,000 in here.
That's a nice round sum.
Enough for you to split with Theo, even after you paid to import a guy to take the rap for killing Clayton. Now tell me, Hollis, did you wait until you heard me coming down the hall to put the knife in him? And did Theo let you out the back way?
I didn't kill Clayton.
Well, Squeaky says he didn't, so you two boys will have a chance to fight it out for the yard.
And with Squeaky and Theo both singing, you're going to be a dead duck, Hollis.
You know, George, a horrible thought just occurred to me.
What's that, Brooksy?
Well, either Hollis or Theo could have come here yesterday morning, taken the money and gone somewhere to live happily ever after.
It couldn't happen.
Huh? What made you so sure? How come you knew you had a whole day to work in?
Because Hollis and Theo overlooked something.
I never overlooked anything.
When you go to the trouble to kill the vice president of a bank, you run the risk of closing the next day in respect to his beloved memory. Look, why are we going to the household fixtures department, Angel?
You'll see. George, I just thought of something. The reason Theo was so upset. I mean, when she stopped at the front door of the bank and then made a beeline for the sandal. I wasn't close enough to see the sign, bank closed.
Came the door. Yeah, but what are we supposed to do among all these pots and pans?
Buy a wedding present for Bill Moran and Mary back in Brooklyn. Oh, miss, how much are these chimes?
$12.50. And a very good buy. Listen.
Oh, nice. I'll take 2 of them.
Well, I hate to ask this, but... Angel, who's the other one for?
If I live long enough, you'll find out.
Can you imagine driving around the world not once, but 4 times without an engine repair? Well, in actual mileage, one man has driven even farther than that on compounded RPM motor oil and without an engine repair. His name is George M. Hollingsworth, an insurance agent in Bakersfield, California. Here's what Mr. Hollingsworth said, quote, "One of my cars has gone 123,000 miles on RPM without engine repairs," unquote. And lots of Western motorists have told us they've driven 7 and 8 years on RPM without engine repairs. Thousands of others have learned that RPM pays its own way many times over. For RPM is compounded to stop carbon trouble, to guard engine hot spots left bare and exposed to wear by ordinary motor oils, and to keep the whole engine system cleaner. Try RPM motor oil tomorrow. Get it at any standard station or any independent Chevron gas station where they say and mean, we'll take better care of your car. Next week, when you tune our way for another adventure of George Valentine, you'll find George faced with a new problem in a letter that reads,
"Dear Mr. Valentine, how do you explain this in a man? At 38, he's retired, a millionaire. Yet he steals a trinket from a 5 and 10 cent store. Makes sure he's caught and then merely laughs. This man is my husband. I must find out what's happening to him. Please come to my home as soon as possible. Signed, Edna Pallister."
Next week, a new case for George, the malignant heart. Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Let George Do It stars Robert Bailey as George with Frances Robinson as Claire. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Tonight's story was written by David Victor and Herbert Little Jr. and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Gene Bates as Theo, Gerald Moore as Hollis, Robert Jellison as Squeaky, and Eddie Marr as Moran. The music is composed and conducted by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. It sounds like we're in for some psychological suspense next week. This is just a fantastic episode. I love Wally Mayer in this as Lieutenant Riley. Just the way he delivers the lines really did a good job. Also, fans of old-time radio will recognize the voice of Gerald Moore today. Moore, of course, is best known for playing the role of Philip Marlowe on the radio. But he was also a radio character actor that was in virtually, any production you can think of. I've even seen his credit when I've done a search for his name in Superman. This is the first of many appearances he'd make on Let George Do It. He also appeared in 1949 and 1951. I do have a comment on Facebook from Justin, who says regarding the episode a couple of weeks ago, Murder, It's a Gift. Great show. I love the twist about the most deserving person. Keep up the good work. Well, thanks a lot. I really think that this is one of the most underrated shows in all of old-time radio. I remain very solid in that belief as we continue to see just the amazing mysteries they turn out each week. And this one just had so much action and adventure on it. And last couple of weeks ago, that one worked as well. So thanks for your comments and your support.
Well, as a start of a new month, too, I'm going to go ahead and let you know what our movie will be. It'll be on July 11th, and it will be My Favorite Brunette. It's a detective comedy starring Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour, featuring Peter Lorre. Also has Alan Ladd, which it's fantastic to see Alan Ladd on screen after hearing him so much in Box 13. There's not a whole lot of public domain stuff that Ladd is in. So be looking for that on the 11th. Also a cameo from Bing Crosby that you want to sit through the film to and not miss. Well, before I do get started, I do want to remind you about Netflix. Netflix brings you a world of entertainment, regardless of what your taste is. Whether it's classic TV, whether the old movies of great stars like Bob Hope or Basil Rathbone, or if you want to watch episodes of canon. You've got a great choice in Netflix. Netflix gives you access to 90,000 titles, and you can try it out for 2 weeks of free unlimited movie rentals. Go to netflix.greatdetectives.net or go to greatdetectives.net, click on the Netflix link. All right, well, let's get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes. This one's called Murder in the Casbah.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And as for me, well, I'd like to tell you that a time like right now is the perfect time for a glass of Petri California Port. After you've had a good dinner, boy, Petri Port is a real topper. That rich, deep red Petri Port is really an extraordinary wine. Even its color's different. And as for its flavor, well, it'll take a better man than me to describe that. Petri Port is a hearty wine, sure. And every other quality that you look for in a good port, you'll find in Petri Port, and then some. Try Petri Port by itself, or serve it with fruit, with nuts, or with cake. But share it with your friends, will you? Because you can serve it proudly. After all, it is a Petri wine, and that name Petri is the proudest name in the history of American wines. And now let's visit our old friend and host, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell.
Good evening, Doctor.
Settle yourself down and get your pipe going.
Thanks. Doctor, last week you told us that tonight's story took place in the Casbah at Algiers.
Yes, the Casbah. I remember it as the place of countless streets winding up and down, past colorful cafes where 100 tongues were spoken, and often a street would end in shadowy darkness which a man would be foolhardy to enter alone. Yes, Mr. Bartell, that was the Casbah that Sherlock Holmes and I knew in that winter of '99.
Well, how did you happen to be out there, Doctor?
Do you mind if I tell you the story from the start, Mr. Bartell? It really began on a wintry night in Baker Street at the conclusion of a strange murder in Montrevor Castle. A charming young girl sat on the sofa of our lodgings in Baker Street and talked to
But,
us.
Mr. Holmes, you can't say you'll have nothing more to do with the
My dear
Montrevors.
Miss Fretfield, I found the true murderer of the Dowager Countess and committed suicide. Surely the case is ended.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, you found the real murderer. But now I want you to find the unfortunate young man who fled England 5 years ago when he was suspected of a crime.
This is a new development, Miss Fretfield. Please tell us about it.
It's Douglas Milton that I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. He was the heir to the title, wasn't he?
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
He was a sensitive, artistic boy, and when he knew that he was under suspicion, he ran away.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everyone regarded his flight as an admission of guilt. That is, until you found the real culprit, Mr. Holmes.
I imagine, Miss Tutfield, that your interest in the missing boy is not entirely, shall we say, altruistic?
I'm in love with him, Dr. Watson.
Oh.
We were engaged to be married when he ran away. Mr. Holmes, you've got to find him. He must know that his name has been cleared and that he's inherited the title.
Miss Tutfield, have you any direct news, any letter from your fiancé since he left 5 years ago?
None.
Any clues as to his hiding place?
Only this. It's a painting I received anonymously a year after he had left.
Oh.
It was sent from a forwarding address in London. Here it is, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you.
Small oil painting. Very good one, too, sir.
Yes. His splendid sense of composition and his use of color is unusually brilliant. You recognize this painting as the work of your fiancé, Miss Tutfield?
I'm certain of it.
Yes. Wonderful use of color. Observe the delicate shadings of that sunset and the brilliant green of the oasis. This scene is extraordinarily reminiscent of the desert in North Africa.
Yes, that's what made me say I was certain he'd gone abroad, Mr. Holmes.
But why should he go to North Africa?
A good place, Watson, for an Englishman who imagines himself to be escaping justice. Remember, the Foreign Legion is stationed there.
You think he might have joined the Legion, Mr. Holmes?
Right. Would seem logical. No questions are asked of those who join it, and its colorful obscurity might easily appeal to a young fellow in trouble. Hello.
What is it, Holmes?
Quite a few grains of sand between the canvas and the frame here. Miss Tutfield, do you mind if I pry the canvas loose?
Do anything you like, Mr. Holmes, if it gives you any clue to Douglas's whereabouts.
Give me your penknife, will you, Watson?
Yeah.
Thanks, old chap. Here we are.
Can you see anything?
Uh-huh. Look. The word sheriff. An Elafroun. Stamped here. Sheriff is probably the framer's name, and Elafroun is a town some 50 miles from Algiers. That settles it. Miss Tutfield, I accept your case. Watson and I will go to Africa and try to find your fiancé, Douglas Milton.
Monsieur Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I have heard of you so often, but I never thought I should see you here at the headquarters of the Foreign Legion. What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Well, Colonel Brisson, I'm trying to trace an Englishman who has been missing during the past 4 years. I have reason to believe that he might have joined the Legion.
Yeah, I shall look in my records. Let me see. 4 years ago would be 1895. If Sherlock Holmes is tracking him, then I suppose he was in trouble in his own country. If he was in trouble, he might easily have come to us. We ask no questions. 97, 96, 95. In that year, 3 young Englishmen joined us. One of them died of dysentery 2 years ago in Cedar Raji. One of them deserted 18 months ago, and we have been unable to trace him. The third is my adjutant, who brought you into my office just now.
He is, I would say, about 3 inches shorter than Douglas Milton, and men do not shrink in the Foreign Legion, eh, Colonel?
They do not, Monsieur Holmes.
And the fellow who deserted must be our man.
Unless it's the one who died of dysentery. Colonel de Brisson, how would you advise us to set about trying to find a deserter?
Monsieur Holmes, there's only one place in Algeria where a man can hide from the Foreign Legion and remain hidden.
Oh, and what's that place?
The Casbah in Algiers.
Then that's our destination, Watson.
Be very careful, please, gentlemen. The Casbah is a place where the law is exiled. The police have no jurisdiction there. The only rule is that of strength, violence, and treachery.
We shall be very cautious, I assure you. Goodbye, Colonel de Brisson, and thank you for your help.
Well, I must say that I think Colonel de Brisson rather exaggerated the dangers of the Casbah. I suppose you're going to tell me this cafe is the headquarters for a dope smuggling ring or white slaving or something.
Its ramifications are even more extensive than those you've mentioned.
You're joking, Holmes.
I assure you I'm not, old fellow.
What?
My old friend Duhamel is chief of police in Algiers. When I told him our mission, he advised me to come here. A 500-franc note, and the proprietor can obtain any and all information regarding the underworld. For as little as 200 francs, you can arrange a murder. So that gives you some idea of the relative values of the Casbah.
Good Lord, then you've already spoken to the proprietor?
Oh, yes, a charming, scoundrelly fellow by the name of Rafi. I gave him 500 francs and asked him to set his underworld grapevine in motion to see whether an Englishman living in hiding here in the Casbah could be found.
And I thought we'd come here for a quiet meal.
Yes, I'm Rafi now. Let's hope he has news for us. Here we are, Rafi. Come and sit down, won't you?
Rafi works fast, does he not, Mr. Holmes? Your friend is...
My friend knows that you're working with me. We'll be found out.
A drink first. The tongue of Rafi is parched. Would you have me die of thirst before I give you my news? Vermouth cassis.
Rafi?
You have news for me, then?
But yes.
Good, what is it?
First, you will pay me more money, no?
But I gave you 500 francs. You said that you'd do the job for that.
Can I help it if some tongues are more costly to make wag than others? It took the 500 to get the wag. Am I to have nothing for my own trouble?
Votre vermouth cassis, Monsieur Rafi?
Ah, good. The gentleman will pay for it.
There you are.
Merci, Missy.
I will drink to your health, gentlemen, both of you. You will pay me more money, no?
But my friend's already given you 500. You should stick to your bargain, my good fellow.
My information is a bargain at 750 francs. It would be a bargain at 1,000, but Rafi will let you have it for 750 because he likes you. You will give it to me, no?
And if I refuse?
Then you get no information, and perhaps I spread news in the Casbah that makes it uncomfortable for you gentlemen to be there.
Wait, Scott, this is blackmail.
I get the money, no?
You're a scoundrel, Rafi.
Of course I am a scoundrel.
Here's your money. And information?
There is an Englishman hiding here in the Casbah. I do not know his name, but he is tall and fair-haired. I cannot tell you where he lives, but if you go to the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs, you will find a girl who sings there. A girl who sings like a nightingale. Her name is Aisha, and she can lead you to your Englishman.
A girl named Aisha, in the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs.
That is right. I would suggest that you go there in disguise. Two well-dressed Englishmen might find themselves in trouble. For a small fee, say 200 francs, I will escort you there myself.
Thank you, yes. I think we can manage by ourselves, Rafi.
If your business is concluded quickly and time weighs heavy on your hands, Rafi can take you to some places of rare interest. Dancing girls that wither one's eyeballs with their beauty. For 500 francs, gentlemen...
Thank you, Rafi, thank you. I have a feeling the time will not weigh heavily on our hands. Good night.
You work too hard, gentlemen. You should learn how to play. Good night.
On my soul, I think that fellow's the biggest blackguard I ever met.
I quite agree, old chap, but he is amusing.
By the way, Holmes, don't you think that when this case is finished, we might have a time on our hands?
Oh, Watson, you're incorrigible. But I think... Watson.
What is it?
The man sitting over in the corner by himself.
By Joe, yes, his face seems familiar. We've seen him before somewhere.
Of course we have. His name is Oliver Leeming. We met him at the inquest on the Montrella case.
So we did. Now, what on earth do you suppose he's doing here in the Casbah?
Not on a holiday, I'm sure. Mr. Oliver Leeming, if you recall, is a cousin of Douglas Milton's. The man we're searching for. If Milton were ever declared legally dead, Mr. Leeming over there would inherit the title.
It looks to me as if we're not the only people in the Casbah who are searching for the missing heir.
That's true, old fellow. Come on, let's go and talk to the gentleman. Mr. Oliver Leeming, how very odd to meet you here.
Well. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Well, it's a small place, isn't it? Or has somebody said that before? I wondered if you'd spot me over here in the corner.
Oh, you so said.
Of course. You seem to be in such deep conversation with that scoundrel Rafi. I didn't like to disturb you.
Very considerate of you, I'm sure. Why are you here, Mr. Leeming?
Oh, I'm making a business trip. This is my day off.
As I recall it, you're in the publishing business.
Correct. What a memory you have.
It seems peculiar that you should be on a business trip here. Are you planning on opening a publishing house in Algiers, or are you searching the Casbah for new authors?
Why not? I'm a great believer in encouraging new talent.
Mr. Leeming, why don't you admit that you're here for the express purpose of trying to find your cousin, Douglas Milton?
Mr. Holmes, you've discovered my secret. The great Sherlock Holmes and his watchdog have their eager eyes on me. They know that I succeed to the title if Douglas Milton dies.
Yes, Mr. Leeming, we know that fact.
And you have fathomed my plan to find Douglas before me and kill him so that I may inherit the title. How lucky I am to meet you in the Casbah, where you cannot arrest me. Well, it's a race against time, gentlemen, but I have a head start, as you will soon find out. Goodbye, and the best of luck to you.
Extraordinary fellow. He's joking, of course.
I believe not, Watson. I think he labors under the whimsical belief that the best method of discounting the truth is to state it as baldly, so that it will not be believed.
Great Scott, then we must work fast.
Yes, old chap, we must. I'm sure that we're entrants in a race against death. We must get back to the hotel and into our disguises as quickly as possible. After that, we shall visit a young lady named Aisha in the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs. And I'm certain, Watson, that it will be the first time two men have ever entered the Casbah for the express purpose of preventing a murder.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just about a second, which gives me time to remind you that if you like the flavor of big, plump, juicy Muscat grapes, you'll love the flavor of Petri California Muscatel. What a wine. Petri Muscatel is the perfect after-dinner wine. It looks good, smells better than it looks, and when it comes to the taste department, well, you never tasted anything like it. For a really good wine, remember first Petri, then Muscatel. Petri Muscatel. Well, Doctor, I can hardly wait to hear what happened next. You and Sherlock Holmes went back to the hotel, I suppose.
Yes, Mr. Hotel. Holmes quickly adopted the disguise of an Arab guide, while I assumed the role of a tourist. And we started off on our search. Outside the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs, we met with a rude shock. Good Lord. It's the fellow we met in the cafe.
Yes, Oliver Leeming, with a knife between his shoulders.
He's dead, Holmes. Shouldn't we get into touch with the police?
What can they do? Remember, there is no law on the Casbah. In any case, this man is beyond our help. Our job is to protect the living. Come on, old fellow. Let's go to the Cafe of 1,000 Sighs and find this girl, Aisha. The girl, Rafi says, sings like a nightingale.
Comme un oiseau qui chante, je l'appelle ma petite bourgeoise, ma tonquiki, ma tonquiki, ma tonquinoise. Il y en a d'autres qui me font le doux yeux, mais c'est elle que j'aime le mieux.
So that's the girl, Aisha. She's very beautiful.
Don't forget our role of tourist and guide, old chap. Master, would you wish to meet this Aisha?
Very much indeed.
I will see if it can be arranged, Master. Wait here for me, Watson. I'll see what I can do.
Right you are, Holmes. Be careful now.
Mademoiselle Aisha?
What do you want, greasy one?
There is an Englishman at the table over there. He wishes to talk to Aisha.
Which one is he?
The man who sits at the table in the corner. He is very rich, Aisha, and he admires you a great deal. He told me to give you this 500-franc note.
So? Very well. You may bring him to my rooms. The door is at top of stairway, to the right.
Good, Aisha. I fetch him.
I shall be waiting.
Aisha will see you, Master. Follow me, please.
Oh, very well. I hope you know that you're going to handle this, Holmes.
Don't worry, Watson. In this case, I think honesty will be the best policy.
Well, I'm not so sure. This place is a thieves' kitchen if ever I saw one. You better be careful.
First door to the right at the top of the stairs. This is it.
Come in. Oh, come and sit over here, Mr. Englishman. Greasy one, you may leave us.
Mademoiselle, I may as well tell you at once that I am not an Arab guide. My name is Sherlock Holmes.
What do you want with me? Why you trick your way in here?
Don't be frightened, mademoiselle. I can explain our mission in a very few words. My friend and I have come in search of an Englishman by the name of Douglas Milton. We have good news for him.
What make you think I might know of him?
A gentleman by the name of Rafi suggested that you might.
What is your good news for this Englishman?
That he has been cleared of suspicion of murder, and that he is the rightful Earl of Montrevor.
That means when he knows this, he will leave the Casbah and return to his country?
Naturally, madame.
I do not know this man. I have never heard of him. Here is your 500 francs. Goodbye.
Not so fast, Aisha, mon petit chou. I've been listening from behind these curtains. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Douglas Milton.
Douglas Milton, we find you at last.
It gives me infinite pleasure to have succeeded in my mission. How do you do, sir?
This is very exciting. Yes, I think the occasion calls for a drink. What will it be, gentlemen?
Well, I think a glass of port would be very nice, sir.
Yes, it would be the most appropriate for toasting the new Earl of Montrevor.
Splendid, splendid. Aisha, bring glasses and a bottle of port and some creme de menthe for me.
You are not going to England. I will never let you leave me.
Oh, stop being so melodramatic, Aisha. Please bring 2 bottles and some glasses.
Very well. I am sorry.
Mr. Holmes, I can't tell you how I appreciate your trouble in coming all this way to find me. Well, I must tell you at once, there's one problem that makes it difficult for me to leave this country. You see, I deserted from the Foreign Legion.
Yes, we know that, my boy. In fact, that's how we first got onto your trail.
I shouldn't let that fact worry you, Mr. Milton. I'm certain the British consul in Algiers can arrange to have any charges dropped against a peer of the realm.
Oh, well, I never thought of that.
Here are the bottles.
You must excuse the glasses, gentlemen. Tumblers are hardly cooked, I suppose, but... Well, they won't spoil the flavor, I'm sure. 2 glasses of port and creme de menthe for me. Only 3 glasses, Aisha? Bring a glass for yourself.
I do not wish to drink.
And I insist that you do. Bring a glass, Aisha.
Why should I drink if you are leaving?
Mr. Milton, do you know Oliver Leeming?
Oh, of course, he's my cousin. Yes, he came here half an hour ago and threatened me.
Did you also know that he's lying dead in the street? Murdered?
Well, yes, I did. If we went in the Casbah, I wouldn't tell you this, but Aisha stabbed him. She followed him when he left here. He killed him and then slipped back just in time to sing a song a few moments ago. Oh, you needn't look so shocked, Dr. Watson. Life is cheap in the Casbah, and Aisha is a girl of violent passions. Come on, let's drink.
A toast to the new Earl of Montrevor.
Oh, excuse me, sir. You took the wrong glass. You were drinking my port.
Oh, silly mistake. I can't bear port. Very English of me, I'm afraid, but, well, after all these years, I don't feel particularly English. In fact, I'll probably find it very hard to adjust myself to the old life when I go back. Or perhaps I should say, if I go back.
Since you feel that way about it, Mr. Milton, why go? You can claim the title and the revenues of the estate without leaving Algeria. You could stay here and live on the income.
I didn't realize that would be possible. You sure I could do that?
Oh, yes, I'm quite certain of it. But if you doubt my word, I suggest we all adjourn to the British consulate in Algiers. They can put you straight on the matter.
That's a good idea. Let's go over there at once.
Now I have been listening to you, my friend. You are planning to leave me. Once you go from the Casbah, I shall never see you again.
Put down that knife, Aisha.
I will not let you go. You belong to me. If you try to leave me now, I will kill you.
Put down that knife, Aisha. You've done enough damage for one night.
Why you...
Put it down, you fool. Put it down.
Let me go. Let me go.
She twisted the knife on herself as she fell.
Holmes, help me turn her over. She's dead, Mr. Milton.
Poor Aisha.
It's a bloody path that leads to the Montrevor title, sir. I suggest that we see that the poor girl's body is taken care of. Then go to the British consulate without any further delay. Now that we're at the consulate, Milton, I suggest that you swear on oath that you are Douglas Milton, heir to the Montrevor estate. This gentleman is a commissioner of oaths, and we can go in and see the consul.
Very well.
Now, raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I hereby solemnly swear that I am Douglas Milton, the missing heir to the Montrevor estate.
I hereby swear that I am Douglas Milton, missing heir to the Montrevor estate.
Thank you, sir. And now, if you'll sign the statement here, these gentlemen can witness it.
There you are.
Thank you, sir. And now, if you gentlemen will sign.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, gentlemen. The document is now legal.
Splendid. Now let's go over and see the consul.
Not yet, my friend. Watson, this man is not Douglas Milton.
What the devil are you talking about?
There is no law in the Casbah, sir, so you cannot be punished for the 2 murders you committed there. But now that your avarice has tempted you here to Algiers, where you've been foolish enough to sign a false statement, I think we can at least settle you very nicely for desertion, false impersonation, forgery, and perjury.
What do you mean?
The story should be obvious, old fellow. Oliver Leeming did track down the deserter. Recognition was uncertain after so many years, but at least it gave this gentleman the idea of impersonating the real Douglas Milton, a friend of his.
You have a lively imagination, Mr. Holmes.
The real Douglas Milton died of dysentery 2 years ago in City Reich. As soon as the idea of impersonating Milton was born, Leeming had to die.
Your theories are very interesting, but you haven't a shred of proof. I say that I'm Douglas Milton. How are you going to prove otherwise?
Very simply, my dear sir. Douglas Milton was a painter. A painter who excelled in the use of vivid colors. You, sir, suffer from the quite common malady of red-green color blindness. Less than an hour ago, you mistook a glass of port, which is red, for a glass of creme de menthe, which is green. I knew at once that you were an impostor.
You're cleverer than I thought you were, Holmes. Goodbye. Here, come back.
No, Watson. Don't go after him.
But we can't let him escape, Holmes.
Don't worry, old chap. He won't escape. I sent a message to Colonel DeBlanc. If you go to the window, I think you'll find that the consulate is being watched. The Legion has a long memory for desertion. I don't think he'll get very far.
They got him, Holmes. Shot him as he was trying to run away.
A just death for him. Lived a life of violence and treachery, Watson. It's only fitting that he should die in the same manner.
Doctor, that was a swell story, but you know something? I wish you hadn't disillusioned me about the Casbah.
Disillusioned you? What do you mean?
Well, before I heard your story, whenever somebody mentioned the Casbah, I'd always visualize a very glamorous, romantic sort of place full of beautiful women. Every one of them a ringer for Hedy Lamarr.
No.
Yep. And I could just see myself, handsome, dashing, going up to one of those beautiful girls and whispering in my fine French accent, "Darling, you are sensational. You are lovely. Gorgeous. Tell me. Have you ever tried Petri wine? It's wonderful." Well, you must admit, Doctor, that is the truth. It is wonderful wine. It certainly ought to be.
Incorrigible.
After all, winemaking has been the business of the Petri family ever since way back in the 1800s. For generations, the Petri family has handed down from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. And don't forget, because the making of Petri wine is a family affair, the letters P-E-T-R-I on a bottle of wine are the personal assurance of the Petri family that every drop of wine in that bottle is good wine. So no matter what type wine you prefer, for any occasion, remember you can't go wrong with a Petri wine because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Well, Doctor, now I suppose you're ready to tell us about next week's story?
Yes, and as soon as I have, I want you to meet a friend of mine.
Friend?
Yes. But first, Mr. Bartell, next week, I'm going to tell you an adventure in which, for once, Holmes came off second best. An exciting story of high society and romance. I call it A Scandal in Bohemia.
Boy, that sounds swell. And now what about your friend?
Well, he's waiting at the microphone in San Francisco. He's Dr. Langley Porter, and he wants to tell us about something very important. Dr. Langley Porter.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. Radio listeners, tonight in Italy there are thousands, many thousands, dying of cold and hunger. Babies, children, expectant mothers, old folks, dying for want of clothes, want of food. This organization, American Relief for Italy, appeals to you to search your homes for anything that can be made useful for starving, freezing men, women, children. Clothing, layettes for babies, diapers, shoes, food, surgical supplies, but above all, clothes, clean clothes, fit to wear. Take them to the nearest fire station. That your gifts will reach the Italians who need them, you may be sure. Americans of this organization will distribute the packages in Italy through the Italian Red Cross, the Catholic Relief Organization, the League of Italian Women, the Confederation of Italian Labor, and the Italian government. In California, rationing has gone. Christmas comes. There, in Italy, death is on the prowl. Radio listeners, lives can be saved. It's up to you.
Thank you, Dr. Langley Porter. I know that our friends listening in will do all that they can to help the organization American Relief for Italy.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Crooked Man. Music is by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. This was a show where the post-show festivities almost overshadowed the show itself. First, you had Harry Bartell, and, I've heard both ways on the Petri One ads. The in-show ads, where he's sitting there talking with Dr. Watson, those are sold by Harry Bartell. It's a fascinating bit of showmanship by Bartell as he explains about Petri Wine. He cracked me up today. Really well done. And then you had the war relief for Italy. And this was very, this is one of those feelings of, wow. Because we'd just been at war with Italy, and here we're like, this is a national radio show, and it's a priority to make sure we help out these poor people who are in this spot. And it's a very, very moving moment. The show itself, I thought, was fantastic with its trip to the Casbah. What a great setting! What a great setting for a story. And there was so many twists there. I kind of got a sense that the story was petering out at one point, but when they were going over to the embassy, I kind of thought, no, there's something more here that we're about to get to. And I thought Holmes's clue was pretty clever as to how he caught that. You'd almost have to be a wine expert, though, but, I think Harry Bartell was there going, yeah, I know who he's not the real guy. He couldn't, a good artist couldn't make that mistake. But good show overall. Got a comment here from Dan regarding my tribute to Art Linkletter. He says, I think sorely missing from contemporary media in general is theatricality, meaning a heightened sense of wit and a certain playing to the crowd that is appreciated by both writer, actor, and viewer. Outside of a few comedies, most everything is method acting and played to be at its utmost realistic. I'm surrounded by reality. I don't need it so much in my entertainment. That's part of why I love old-time radio and TV shows. It's for the sense the actors aren't really acting on stage and giving me a show. I like to be told a story and not always be shown reality. I think that's a point. And any time you enter the world of the private detective, you're entering something that is, for the most part, staged. Because the real work of the private detective is not all that interesting. When you listen to the radio, you're right, there's a whole lot of theatricality. You listen to Burns and Allen, Bob Hope, Abbott and Costello. These shows were vaudeville routines done over the radio. And with a very exciting way of telling a story. So I think that there definitely has to be a place with this. And you think the one thing that too can bother me about some of the reality focus is if you're saying this is reality, but you can also have a distorted perception of reality. And then you get into some discussions that might be too philosophical. But I appreciate your comment. Thanks so much, and we definitely will continue to bring these shows to you. And well, before we get into today's episode of Johnny Dollar, I do want to ever so briefly remind you as you make your summer travel plans to travel for business or pleasure across the United States and around the world, remember JohnnyDollarAir.com. You get the flexibility to name your own price if you want, as well as being able to choose from published fares and being able to save money when you book your flight, rental car, and hotel all together at JohnnyDollarAir.com. All right, we're going to get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This is the story of the Big Red Schoolhouse. We'll go ahead and we will listen.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
I got $500 here for you.
And all I have to do is guess the mystery voice. Is it Julius Caesar?
This is Western Union, and there's a message with it. Building irregularities suspected, Manhattan, Nebraska. Proceed there immediately. Stay Cheyenne Hotel. Will advise. Regards, Paul McGraw, Chief Investigator, Great Chesapeake Fidelity and Insurance Guarantee.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds like you're in for some real fun, Mr. Dollar.
I am?
During the war, I was stationed near Manhattan, Nebraska.
Good town?
Good town. It made a Texas Army camp look like the promised land.
Edmund O'Brien in another transcribed adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Mr. Paul McGraw, Chief Investigator, Great Chesapeake Fidelity and Insurance Guarantee, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenditures incurred during investigation conducted on behalf of your company, or the story of the Big Red Schoolhouse. Expense account. Item, transportation, $134 plane fare, New York to Omaha. Item, transportation, $3.95 bus fare, Omaha to Manhattan, Nebraska, which a fellow passenger told me was a quiet, sleepy little town. But which seemed to be celebrating Rip Van Winkle Day as I stepped off the bus. Nobody was walking and everybody was running. I followed the crowd in the general direction of the excitement. 2 blocks north of the main street, the fire crews were hard at work playing the hoses on what was very shortly not going to be the new high school building. And that's where a little man with black curly hair introduced himself.
I am Paco Gonzalez. I carry those bricks myself. Watch fine new school grow up under my own hand. What's the matter? How come these buildings I worked so hard on for 16 months goes down in 16 minutes, huh? I ask you, mister, how come this?
Oh, now calm down. What are you talking about, you? Like everyone else in Manhattan, Nebraska, I spent the next 3 hours working with the emergency fire and disaster squads. And by 8 o'clock that night, we seemed to have it under control. I finally dragged myself over to the Cheyenne Hotel. But before I could leave the front desk, I had a long-distance call from you, McGraw.
Johnny, where have you been? I've been trying to
There's been a big fire here in town. Everybody had to work on it.
Did Joe Stankovich get in touch with you yet?
Who's Joe Stankovich?
A guy who lives there. He tipped us. Said something about a building we're covering being in bad shape.
What building's that?
A new high school. Just put up 6 months ago.
And it fell down tonight.
What?
In a heap. The building will retail now at a junkyard for about $35.
Well, you better start with this Joe Stankovich and see what it's all about, Johnny.
Right. Mac, I'll keep in touch. So long.
So long.
Room clerk, have you got city directory around here?
Yeah, city directory in this burg? Yeah. Who do you want to find, Mr. Dollar? I know everybody in and out.
Man named Stankovich, Joe Stankovich.
Yeah, oh, him. The city morgue.
What? When?
He just came over the radio. They picked up what was left of him out of the fire. Yeah, and that ain't much.
Joe Stankovich had no survivors and no close friends. He lived in the basement of the school and kept to himself. That was all I found out about him after asking questions around town for an hour or so. About 11 o'clock, I started back for the hotel. Turning a corner by an alley, 2 men in dark clothes were holding a third man in a tweed suit. The fourth man was giving him everything. Hey! Hey! When I came up, the 3 men scattered like burglars. The man they were beating pitched forward, and I caught him before he fell. You need some help, mister.
Everybody needs help. But let me tell you who I am before you help me. Maybe you won't want to.
All right, who are you?
Bill Garrett.
Yeah?
You don't live here, do you?
No, I just got in town this morning.
I was the architect on that school. Well, don't you understand, Samaritan? Don't you see? Those 3 men were a group of citizens. Their kids could have been in that school when it caught fire and collapsed. And I'm afraid they feel that I don't design especially strong buildings.
His office address was in his billfold. I hailed a cab and took him over there, after stopping by a drugstore for bandages, iodine, and something to take off the chill. While I was patching him up, I remembered how he'd stood there without a sound while they did that to him. When he came around, I told him who I was and what I was doing there.
Thanks. You represent a powerful company, Mr. Dollar. But you're wasting time. You'll learn nothing from anyone in this town.
I kind of thought you might tell me something, Garrett.
Yeah, of course. I could tell you every delicious scandal that's happened here for the past 30 years. Every exquisite depravity and violation of the sanctity of human intelligence.
No, I mean about the school building.
Well, I can tell you there wasn't any reason for those boilers to be fired today. That there wasn't any reason for them to blow up. But they did.
Any idea why?
Lots of ideas. And all of them bad, Dollar. Real bad.
Okay, tell me.
Look, I was raised here. I went to college over in Lincoln. And one day I came back an architect. I was going to make the whole place over. Nice buildings, nice streets, everything. And you saw what happened. The school was my first big project.
Yeah?
I drew it 4 years ago, revised it a year later.
And the city hired you?
Better than that. I was so good, the day they broke ground on that school, I left for Paris to study at the Sorbonne.
And you weren't in town while it was being constructed?
I was out learning how to build even better things. I got back in town 4 days ago. I went over to see my building. Well, here's a laugh for you. They used my outside drawing, that's all. Looked like they made up the rest of it as they went along. I went over to see the building contractor to ask him about it. Double talk. He told me to keep my mouth shut if I ever expected to do any more work for the city.
This building contractor, what's his name?
He has a perfect name, Dollar. A fine, sunburned man with lots of good teeth and not an ounce of fat on his broad frame. Big Jim Madden.
Where can I find him? 20 or 30 irate citizens of Manhattan had already gathered outside Jim Madden's home, with the 10 uniformed men from the local sheriff's office forming a half-moon circle across the close-clipped lawns, as well as the 2 standing guard over the yellow convertible in the driveway, meant there'd be no kind of beating up around there. My identification card got me inside, where I waited around in a den that was stocked with good liquor and good leather chairs. Finally, a big man in a blue suit walked in.
Dollar?
Uh-huh.
I'm Jim Madden. You're the insurance man. What can I do for you?
Tell me everything you can about that high school building.
The city made a claim yet?
I don't know.
Uh-huh. You just happened to be in town.
We heard something might be wrong with that building. Apparently there was.
Now, who told you a thing like that? 2 boilers explode and there's something wrong with the building? Is that the way you people figure?
We check into things.
Well, so do we, and we couldn't find anything wrong.
Who's your we?
Me and the boys. Officially with the city construction department. We just had a big meeting.
Yeah? I figured those people hanging around outside ought to be worrying you.
Well, they don't worry me, and you don't worry me. Drunken janitor goes to sleep last night without turning down the boilers. The pressure kicks way up, the joint blows apart and burns down.
Is that what you decided in that meeting?
That's about it. It was a terrible accident, and we'll have to use an old garage or something for a school. But then we'll get around to building another with the insurance money we have coming.
Good walls don't tumble out from that kind of explosion. We have to have some kind of specifications on that.
Easy, Dollar, easy. Of course you do, of course you do. Anything at all. Yeah, there you are. All the building specifications on the high school, okay?
That'll do for now.
Good. Now you can get out of my house. You smell smoky.
There were 50 pages of specifications on that building materials used in the construction of the school. They looked all right. They also looked as if they could have been forgeries. I tried to get hold of Bill Garrett, but he didn't answer his phone. Then I noticed an inspection receipt at the back of the folder. It was signed by the local building inspector, a man named Mike DeGuerra.
You stay up late, whoever you are, but come on in anyway.
The woman standing in the doorway was tall and blonde and smoking a longer than you can buy cigarette that went with the black filmy thing she was wearing.
You say your name's Johnny Dollar and you want to talk to Mike, huh? I'm Vivian DeGuerra, and Mike isn't home just now, but you can wait for him and talk to me. I'm not bad company. Would a drink help?
Help what?
Whatever's wrong with you. You look tired.
It might, but I'd rather not. I just came by to talk to your husband.
You said that. What do you want to talk to him about?
Business.
At 1 in the morning?
Look, you probably missed your dinner tonight, and you've been getting all your nourishment out of a bottle.
And you're kind of afraid Mike will walk in?
No, Mike DeGuerra won't walk in. He's already walked out. And you're feeling kind of sorry for yourself.
Why, I didn't...
A man, if he lives in a place, is an ashtray or a picture or yesterday's sports section lying around the front room. There's nothing like that in this room. And if I walked over to that closet 10 to 1, I wouldn't find any of his clothes. Come on, tell me. When did he lamb out of town?
Stop, you're hurting my arm.
Come on, when?
3 months ago.
Get out of here.
Why? Where is he?
Find him and ask him. You're the detective.
McGraw.
Paul, Johnny Dollar. It's a mess here. Your man Stankovich's dad was killed in the fire.
Oh, that's a shame. What do you think?
Well, political wraparound. The school was a fix on something or other. Dough somewhere. The town sewed up tight. All kinds mixed up in it. Somewhere.
Yeah, that kind of thing, huh? Well, stay where you are, Johnny. I'm sending you 8 men. If they want to play that way, we'll play that way. Get to the bottom of this.
3 seconds after I hung up the phone, I found out how much of a mess it really was. That's when my hotel door opened and a man lurched across the room toward me.
Dollar.
He stood in front of me, swaying back and forth, his hands clutching his coat. He fell before I could get to him. 3 bullet holes formed a neat trio across where his tie pin should have been. I ran my fingers through his coat, pulled out his wallet. The driver's license read Mike DeGuerra, age 39, occupation, building inspector.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. But first, the king of the cowboys, Gene Autry, will be riding the CBS range again this Saturday night. And Gene will be singing 2 of your favorites, Funny Little Bunny and Home on the Range. This Saturday, CBS also will take you on another trip with Vaughn Monroe's Caravan. You can hear them both every Saturday night on most of these same CBS stations. Vaughn Monroe and Gene Autry. Now with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
After they took Mike DeGuerra's body to the morgue, the local constables held me all that night in custody. Several Cheyenne hotel employees, finding nothing better to do for excitement, finally showed up to certify that DeGuerra had come into the hotel already shot up. So I was clean, and they let me leave a little after dawn. When I got back to my room, Paul McGraw's contingent of operatives had already arrived. There was Ralph Haycraft from Continental, Carl Royal, Chip Hannigan, who handled the St. Louis diamond heist, Patty Phillips from Detroit, Rocky Andrusano, reliable Jerry Cotte, Tip Miller, Rod Cornile, and a guy who saved my life once in Denver, K.G. Peterson.
Johnny, how are you?
Hi, fine. Hey, how's everybody, huh? Chip, Patty, Ralph, good to see you.
Chesapeake's certainly spreading the dough around. What's the scoop, Johnny?
This is a big one. It's going to take all of us. Now, if you'll sit down, I'll go over it for you. All right, here's the story. Chesapeake insured a high school building here about 6 months ago. Yesterday, it fell on its face. 1, it was not built to specifications, or 2, somebody blew it down, or both. In any case, we don't pay off. But we have to prove our case. Now, there are too many leads for one man to follow before they evaporate. The guy who signed the building inspection papers was killed last night, a guy named Mike DeGuerra. Carl and Chip, that's your job. Find out everything about him, his bank account, his friends, his troubles, his wife, everything. Oh, his wife, yeah. She's living at 113 South Street.
You'd find a girl on Mount Everest, Johnny.
Well, she's not my type, honestly. Robin Tip, your man is the building contractor, Big Jim Madden. He's cocky, belligerent, but I think you guys can handle him. Run him down. Bank accounts, purchase orders, what kind of money he spends, so on. Patty and Ralph, find out everything about Stankovich, the janitor who was found in the ruins. Rocky and Jerry, start talking with anybody in town who might know anything. Bars, restaurants, street corners, teachers, pupils, anybody, anywhere. And report back to me anytime you want. Now, don't push anybody around, but don't let anybody push you guys around. Anyone have anything to say?
Yeah, just one thing. Let's get this thing over so I can get back to Philadelphia. I'm about to become a father.
I thought I'd sit back a while and see what kind of birds were flushed up from the dusty meadows of Manhattan, Nebraska. An hour later, my first bird winged in. But it wasn't at all what I expected. It was a tall, gray-haired man, His Honor, Mayor Randall.
Mr. Dollar, I've seen the men you brought into town today, and I wanted to talk with you about them.
Fine. What about in particular?
The events of the past 24 hours in this town have been deplorable and grossly injurious to the public welfare. The collapse of our beautiful schoolhouse, the death of our beloved janitor Stankovich, and the untimely murder of one of our respected public servants, Mr. DeGuerra. All have grieved me deeply.
None of which were caused by any of my investigators, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, my purpose here is not a belligerent one, Mr. Dollar. On the contrary, I came seeking assistance. We are a small community with a rudimentary police force, not equipped for major criminal investigations. I want these matters brought to a head and cleared up. And I came to offer a complete cooperation between you and our municipal government.
I never turned down cooperation, Mayor, and I'll accept yours. You can begin by telling me everything you know about the schoolhouse.
Oh, certainly. It was commissioned 2 years ago, designed by William Garrett. Built by James Madden 6 months ago. The unfortunate Mr. DeGuerre inspected it and called it up to snuff. On the basis of his official inspection, your company insured it. I had no idea until yesterday that it was an unsafe building.
Was DeGuerre reliable?
I know nothing about his personal life, Mr. Dollar, but in his job he was competent and above reproach.
He couldn't have been competent if he approved an unsafe building.
Yes, I wondered about that myself, but I'm not prepared at the moment with an answer.
Where are the purchase orders for the materials used in that building?
The purchase orders?
Yeah.
Purchase orders. I can't seem to recall. Well, they were undoubtedly destroyed along with other useless paper matters that were accumulated from the construction work.
Material purchase orders are never useless when the building falls down afterwards. If you find them, I'd like to be invited in.
Well, I will certainly look for them, Mr. Dollar. I want to cooperate with you in every way.
I'm sure you do, and you'll hear from me when I need something. Thank you, Mayor, and good day.
Oh, by the way, the city council will, of course, have to file an immediate claim with your company.
We take the bitter with the sweet. I pondered his statement for a while and got nowhere. There are mayors and mayors, and this one was of the old school, full of cliches and overblown rhetoric and nothing else. In a little while, calls began coming in from the men. Chip reported that during the building construction, Mike DeGuerre had made 4 deposits of $5,000 each in the bank. His salary was $7,500 a year. I thought another talk with Mrs. DeGuerre was in order and made for her house. She answered the door with tears in her eyes, a black lace handkerchief, and a black dress. It was tight, satin, and low cut. Not exactly Emily Post for mourning, but it was black.
Oh, Mr. Dollar, I'm glad you came. I'm so unhappy and lost.
I can see. May I come in?
Why not? Is there anything special you want, Mr. Dollar?
I'm sorry to cut in on your hour of bereavement, Mrs. DeGuerre, but under the circumstances...
I know. I'm not sure I can help you any. I'm so broken up.
If you're not careful, you might drown in those tears.
You cheap gumshoe.
You dropped your act. Well, don't bother to pick it up. And that dance hall dress and shoes. Is that what you thought was expected of you? Look, this setup creaks from top to bottom. Come on now. Your late husband made $7,500 a year and deposited $20,000 in 6 months. Does that figure?
I don't know anything about his money. All I know is the bank told me he only had $300 left.
What did he do with it?
What do you think? He spent it on other women.
Then why the tragic act?
Not very good at it, am I?
Not the best?
I really loved him. He loved me. We kicked it away because we both wanted more excitement than this town and his salary could give us. There was no place to go. We just didn't get along. He was out spending his money on other women, being a big shot. I can't blame him, though. I helped make him do it.
What about the money? He got it for falsifying the school inspection papers, didn't he?
Well, he didn't get it inventing the telephone.
Who gave it to him?
I don't know.
Well, who do you think killed him? And why?
I don't know that either.
Oh, what do you know?
Look, he didn't leave any insurance, see, and I got to live the best way I can. If I stay in this town, I got to keep friends. If I don't want to keep them, I got no choice but to move. And that takes money.
I wonder what could possibly be on your mind.
The company you represent handles insurance, doesn't it?
263 different kinds.
Are you particular what kind of premiums you collect?
We pay off on a lot of things. Just what kind of insurance were you thinking about, madam?
$2,000 endowment. Got your pen?
No. But my word's good at the cashier's cage. What do you got?
I'm trusting you. Mike got that $20,000 from the Universal Rock Company for, quote, services rendered, unquote. You know who owns the rock company?
Big Jim Madden?
Close enough, Big Jim's brother. Last night, when Mike showed up in town, he was gunning for trouble.
Why?
He said they were going to make a patsy out of him. He wasn't going to take the rap for anybody, is what he said. I think he ran out of money and came back to make a touch in exchange for disappearing again.
And Madden shot him?
I didn't say that because I don't know. How do I get my insurance?
Yeah, if what you say is true, I'll have to check first. tore myself away from the grieving widow and headed back to the hotel in case any of the boys called. On my way down Main Street, getting the worst end of the local stairs, someone with a wrinkled coat and bourbon on his breath stepped out of a doorway and stopped me. Bill Garrett, the architect.
Dollar?
Yeah, Garrett, what is it?
I finally got up courage enough to do something decent. Decent for me, anyway. For anybody else, it would be too low to talk about.
What was it?
Well, I'm not much of a lawyer, but they say there's a statute in the books that says a private citizen may commit a crime to prevent a greater crime from being committed and still go free. Is that right?
Most states have it. I suppose Nebraska does, too.
Well, I committed a crime. I'm a Fagin, that's what I am.
So long, Garrett. I'm busy.
Oh, now, Johnny, wait a minute. Now. Just written on the head of a pin, it goes this way. I had a secretary in the mayor's office steal something from his private file. Here. The purchase orders for our humble contribution to ageless architecture, the Little Red Schoolhouse. Signed by no other spotless member of our model community than James G. Madden.
I looked at them, and they were as advertised. Purchase orders complete down to the last 10-penny nail. Not being a technical expert, I decided to shoot them back to Paul McGraw for his perusal. I sent them from the local post office, insured, registered airmail, and special delivery. Then I walked up the steps of the city hall for a chat with His Honor.
Good afternoon, Dollar. My door is open to you anytime.
Glad you feel that way, and I hope you still do when I finish.
You finish what, Dollar?
Calling you a liar?
Now, see here.
Save the B-picture dialogue for your next campaign. I thought you told me the purchase orders on the schoolhouse were destroyed.
Well, to my knowledge, they were.
Look in your personal file. Folder marked Madden, personal, hold.
I don't know what you mean.
Go on, look. No, don't bother. Because all you'll find is an empty space. You ought to see your face, Mayor. Well, Mayor, they were in there, but somebody stole them and gave them to me. Yeah. I sent them to my company for examination. And I'm sure somebody's going to be in a jackpot when the material purchase doesn't come up to the specifications of the building.
Dollar, this is outrageous.
Indeed it is. And it was outrageous from the day your city started to build that school.
Well, all right. I'll tell you why I did what I did.
For money.
Keep your filthy insinuations to yourself.
Insinuation? Your Honor, that was a plain statement.
I wanted to spare this city the loss of faith it would suffer, seeing one of its most prominent citizens exposed and driven out. A man is entitled to one mistake in his life, and Jim Madden is no exception. I planned to bring him to a private accounting and make him replace the money he made on that building and repair it to specifications. Only the tragedy occurred before I took matters in hand.
You had 6 months to do it. And every day of that 6 months, 1,800 students might have been killed. And one man was killed.
No one knows that better than I. But once having decided on this course of action, I didn't know how to go about rectifying things. My intentions were good, but they went astray in the interest of humanity and brotherhood.
Mayor Randall, you are as full of wind as a Chicago street. You are not only windy, you're corny, stupid, careless, and you're criminal. On the strength of what you told me here, my company will never pay that claim.
Dollar, I was trapped.
Look, I'm going to pick up Madden right now, and Randall, I suggest that you give yourself up to your own police chief before I have him do it for me. I raced back to my hotel to organize my men and pick up Madden. When I came in, the phone was ringing. It was Rocky Androsano saying he had 2 witnesses to DeGuerra's shooting. I told him to pick up the boys and come right over. I hung up just as the door opened, and 3 sullen characters with brick dust on their shoulders came in, uninvited.
Want to come with us, Dollar?
What do you need? 4th at Bridge?
Come on.
No, thanks.
Guys, that'll do it.
It was strictly no contest, and with one on each side working a punishing arm lock, I casually strolled out of the room and down the elevator to the street. We were coming out of the hotel when I saw Rocky, Chip, KG, Ralph crossing the street. My boys did real well, especially KG Peterson, who was in a hurry to get back to his wife. After we subdued the hoods, I said a few words to their leader.
Don't ask me nothing.
Sorry, this is quiz night. Madden sent you, didn't he?
Never heard of him. You wouldn't do that by yourself.
We're not proving that. Talk.
Lay off. Lay off. Of course he sent us. Who else?
Where were you supposed to take me and why?
Why, I don't know. Where? The Universal Rock Company on the edge of town.
It was a huge, dusty building next to some intricate rock-crushing machinery. Parked in front of it were 3 cars. A yellow convertible, such as a well-to-do contractor might drive, a long black sedan, such as a city official might have, and a small sedan, such as anybody might have. We covered all the exits, and K.G. Peterson and I went up the front way. We were halfway up to the offices when we pounded up to the landing just as Big Jim Madden staggered out of an open office and fell twisting on the stairs. Through the open door, I saw a flash, a black skirt, and a hand holding a gun that started jumping. Give me that.
It's empty.
Dollar.
It's all right, Mayor. I'll get an ambulance out here as soon as I can. We took Vivian Daguerre into custody. Randall was in bad shape, and he died 2 hours later. But before he died, he told me the whole story.
It was my idea, from beginning to end. Madden didn't want to do it, but I told him if he didn't, he'd never get another contract from this city. We were able to split $100,000 with the cheap supplies we used in that building.
Well, when I showed up Madden, he was afraid he was going to take the rap alone, huh? He was afraid he'd end up like Mike Daguerre. That right?
Yes, I had to have Daguerre killed. He wanted more money.
And you kept the purchase orders so you could make Madden do what you wanted him to do.
When he found out that your company had them, he was going to turn both of us in. I talked him out of it.
Yeah, with a gun. He's dead.
He's better that way. Why is it there's always a falling out among thieves?
That was the last question Mayor Randall ever asked on Earth. And like other men before him who had lived with deceit and treachery, Randall didn't live long enough to get an answer. It turned out he had an ex-wife in Detroit and a daughter living in Miami, but neither one of them claimed his body. His estate was tied up by the city, and the county buried him in Potter's Field, right next to another thief named Jim Madden. No one wrote anything on their headstones. No one cared. The reform city government was too busy floating a bond issue for a new high school. Bill Garrett's going to design it, and this time, I'm pretty sure they'll follow his plans. Expense account total, $3,227. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and was written by E. Jack Newman and John Michael Hayes, with music composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Edmund O'Brien can currently be seen starring in Harry M. Popkins' United Artists production, DOA. Featured in our cast were Victor Perrin, Elliott Reed, Hy Averback, Clayton Post, Bill Conrad, Virginia Gregg, and Willer Waterman. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. Join us next week when, from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien will appear in another transcribed adventure of
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
You can bet your life it's fun. It's a laugh a minute. You can bet your life it's full of surprises. It's radio's craziest quiz show, and you bet your life it'll be one of your favorites when you join Groucho Marx every Wednesday over most of these same CBS stations for You Bet Your Life. Now stay tuned for the adventures of Philip Marlowe, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. This is a very exciting and appealing story. So much so that the story had two writers, John Michael Hayes and E. Jack Newman, and both would subsequently reuse the script. John Michael Hayes would rewrite this as an episode of Sam Spade in 1951. And then 6 years later, This was rewritten under the pen name of John Dawson for the Clinton matter, a 5-part Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. I've heard all 3 of them, and I think that the best one was the Bob Bailey version over 5 parts. Now, this one was pretty good as well. There's a lot going on with this story, and the plot is incredibly engaging. This is my 3rd time through the plot, and it's still it was still fascinating just to watch the way it unfolded. Speaking of script reuse, got an email from Wendy. Said, I've been listening to Jeff Regan episodes for as much sense as this makes in reversed order, mostly because Jack Webb's Shama series, Novak, Modero, and Regan are probably my favorites of all time. So much hard-boiled goodness that they could turn an egg to leather. Anyway, just thought you'd like to know that The Man Who Liked Mountains was also revamped for A Man Named Jordan, except that Jordan has to hop it over a sand dune rather than a lake, and had to scrap that excellent bit in the end with going to see Big Ed's wife because Jordan doesn't have a boss to justify his actions to. Shame. Take it easy and keep it up. Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, and this was actually remade. This was remade as a 5-part Bailey episode called The Salt City Matter, and Salt City was just a nasty kind of corrupt place. I do think that Jeff Regan, Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, that was probably the best version. Although I've not yet heard the Rocky Jordan, but I expect I will get to that. Alright, we have a review on iTunes from Sunset Girl, who writes, I think this is one of the best podcasts out there. I love old-time radio shows, and I love hearing Adam talking about the show, and I love how he reads the comments. I would like to hear Sam Spade or Casey Crime Photographer in the future. You're doing a great job, Adam. Keep up the good work. Well, thanks a lot for your comments, and those are definitely on our list of shows today. Alright, well, we do have a show announcement, speaking of deciding which shows to do. And I have reached a decision on the Bulldog Drummond radio show. And we're not going to do that one. I don't know, it just really was not, it just wasn't a favorite of mine. So, Bulldog Drummond won't be on the show. But that means it'll take less time for us to get some of the other shows. But we still have a pretty big list of shows that I haven't decided whether I want to do or not. And I'll let you know as I get a chance to review them. Alright, well, this is Independence Day weekend. So have a safe and happy Independence Day if you live in the United States. And we'll be back next week on Monday with Box 13, and on Friday, another great episode of Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.